is called the Sport of Kings, a game played in arenas built for heroes.
And a clash of champions midway around the far turn here at Belmont Park.
Alliar on the outside driving. Affirmed and Alliar heads apart. Affirmed's got a nose in front as he comes onto the wire. In the stretch, here he comes and he's opening it up again. It's Seattle Slew and he's drawing clear of the field.
On the 12th running of the Breeders' Cup, horse racing is looking for its heroes. Could it be Cigar? He has conquered all in his path this year. He has crossed America, proving himself worthy of the record books and to join that special fraternity of horse racing heroes. Years ago, Spectacular Bid was the last horse to do what Cigar attempts today. Cigar's trainer, Billy Mott, looking for his place in racing lore. Love him or hate him, Wayne Lukas is the dominant presence in the sport. His 3-year-old Iron Maiden, Serena's Song. She is the disabled children's horse. This horse, Serena's Song, united by a name and linked by hope to a 12-year-old disabled girl. Breeders' Cup Day, a day heroes are crowned and history is made. A day where Angel Cordero had hoped to rewrite his history, but in the way of racing, his chance is gone with the scratching of his one mount 2 hours ago. But for jockey Robbie Davis, today he tries to leave history behind. She is the grand diva of American racing. Belmont Park, now 90 years old. And if she hits a high note only occasionally these days, the fact remains she has played the lead in epic racing productions for generations. For most of this century, the road to a championship led through Belmont Park. The cast of equine greats who have mastered this racing surface is the most prestigious in America, and by day's end could include a new entry, a horse whose very name evokes an unforgettable symbolism, an image of power, affluence, and masculinity. But to join the list of greats, Cigar will have to conquer the elements as well as his competitors. Torrential rain reported at 4 inches last night, this morning, and continuing at this hour, have altered conditions drastically. It's a warm afternoon, but as we come up to the first Breeders' Cup race, the main track listed as good and the turf course very soft, as Belmont Park is once again poised to play a starring role in the grand opera that is the Breeders' Cup. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Breeders' Cup 12. I'm Tom Hammond, your host for Brunch at Belmont, as we open the gates on a great sports day here on NBC with Boston College Notre Dame to follow in Game 6 of the World Series tonight. Certainly the weather has changed the equation. It's going to be bad conditions. Some of the horses like it, some of them don't. But the test of a champion is racing is one that can overcome obstacles. And that's what we're here for today, to choose champions in almost every division, although Cigar is a shoe-in for Horse of the Year. 7 races worth a total of $10 million. And here's the way they'll line up. First race of the day will be the $1 million Juvenile Fillies. In this race, everyone trying to beat Wayne Lukas and his 3 powerful ladies. Then the Sprint. We'll go all out for 6 furlongs in the $1 million Sprint, as not surprising, continues his rags to riches story. The Distaff could be the best race of the day. Lukas and his 3-year-old Serena's Song against Shug McGahee's older fillies, Heavenly Prize and Inside Information. Then the first grass race, the mile. It's Europe against America for the title. We'll choose the early Kentucky Derby favorite in the juvenile. With division leader Maria's Mon sidelined, anybody could win, and Lucas has 3 good ones in here. Back to the grass as the purse jumps to $2 million for the turf. Maybe Europe's best chance with Freedom Cry, the one to beat. Then the big one, the Breeders' Cup Classic, with all eyes on Cigar as he shoots for an even dozen consecutive wins dating to exactly a year ago today, a year that could confirm greatness. So Wayne Lucas is a master of training 2-year-olds. We've seen that over the years, and as we open our Breeders' Cup telecast today, fittingly we open with Wayne Lucas, the leading Breeders' Cup trainer in history with 12 Breeders' Cup championships. Wayne Lucas, one of the top 2-year-old trainers in history. I talked with Lucas about his past and present success. If the eyes are the window to the soul, then will we ever really know D. Wayne Lucas? Will we ever find out if his self-confidence waned when times were tough 2 years ago? Or will he always remain impenetrable now that his dominance has been reestablished? In the years that weren't so good, the subpar years, did you ever doubt that you'd get back to the top?
I didn't think we'd get back in '94 to the national title. That was a pleasant surprise. Again, I always liken the sales to the recruiting process with an NFL team or an NBA team. We were able to go out in those years and select horses that fit our personality, meaning my personality, our training thoughts, and we bought the kind of athlete, meaning the horse, that fit our philosophy.
The Lucas philosophy has paid off handsomely, winning 13 of the last 18 Grade 1 stakes for 2-year-olds. But it has also had its casualties, like last year's Juvenile Fillies winner Flanders, injured and retired after the race. The critics say you over-raced the 2-year-olds.
Well, you know, I think I satisfy my clientele. I think, you know, anytime you have, you know, if you look at the records, I think we've got 15 and approaching 18 world champion horses this year. And if you look at the records, most of them are 2-year-olds. Now, if you're a client, you come to me and you're going to invest your money, what could be better for you than if I say, look, Tom, give me $200,000, $150,000, $50,000, $60,000, some of them were cheap, and I'll make that horse run out close to $1 million and he'll be 2-year-old champion. I mean, is that not what they're supposed to do? They're paying me to do that. That's the straw that stirs the drink.
How dominant has Lucas been with 2-year-olds? Look at this. 13 of the last 18 Grade 1 races in the U.S. for 2-year-olds have gone to Wayne Lucas. That is dominance. And for a training question, we have brought our expert trainer back again this year, John Veach, who is based here at Belmont Park. John, you can't deny that Wayne Lucas and 2-year-olds have been the greatest success story in American racing.
Oh, there's no doubt that Wayne Lucas has been a success at everything he's done, Tom. But the most amazing thing about him is, if you listen to him, particularly when he deals with the press, he's just absolutely tremendous. He talks with the fire of a Baptist preacher and with the showmanship of a modern-day P.T. Barnum. And when it's over, some of those guys walk away, they're absolutely mesmerized, and some of them walk away looking at the bottoms of their shoes to see if they maybe stepped in something.
Well, now, we do want to ask you about this racing surface. As we said, you're based here at Belmont Park, so we've seen the track take an awful lot of water. First of all, what are the trainer's options when it comes to helping your horse get some traction on that track?
Well, the problem, basically, Tom, on a wet racetrack is that they slip a little bit. When the track gets very, very muddy, they slide, and when a horse slides, he loses his enthusiasm, and he'll shorten his stride and basically be very cautious. So what they'll do is they'll take a shoe and turn the tips of it and make a little caulk or a little spike, just like a baseball shoe might have. And that gives them a little bit more grip, and they don't slide. You can also, there's another variation called a caulk, a jar caulk here, and again, it's the same situation where there's a stop, a spike. Same thing as a golfer or a baseball player. When they need traction, this gives it to them.
Mud caulks. Only one horse in the race, this Juvenile Fillies race, is wearing the mud caulks, and that is La Rosa. We'll see how she does. Let's get a close-up report on the track. Now let's go to our jockey, Greg McCarron, on horseback. Greg, what's it look like out there in the middle of the mud?
Tom, I'll tell you, right now the rain has stopped, so it's pretty good. But on a day like today, it's not fun for either jockey or horse. The only thing is, it's a little bit better for the jockey because they're at least able to cover their eyes with some goggles. The first thing a jock might do is have 4 or 5, maybe 6, 7 pair of goggles, depending on how far they're going, how big the field is. And what they'll do is just before they get in the gate, that top pair of goggles will be covered with a piece of cellophane. They'll pull all their goggles down like that, and then they'll pull that piece of cellophane off, like so, and then get all their goggles situated so that they're ready for the break. And once the break starts, they will bow over and try to tuck themselves behind the horse's head as best they can. If they can't make the lead, or if they're not too close to the lead, what will happen is they will get splashed in the face something terrible. So what they do is they take just a little finger and flip a pair down like that, and they're ready for the next pair. And then after they go about a quarter of a mile, it might get splashed again, so they pull down another pair until they get them all down, and they're at the very last pair, and they have a clean pair of goggles, and they hopefully can see for the whole race. Back to you, Tom.
All right, Greg. All that while guiding a 2,000-pound animal going about 35 or 40 miles an hour. Here are the morning line odds. You see that Golden Attraction, the Lucas horse, opens as the 8-5 favorite. Will the Lucas Attraction for 2-year-olds be golden? Juvenile Fillies. When we return.
The 12th running of the Breeders' Cup is brought to you by Buick and your local dealers. Remember Buick, the new symbol for quality in America. By the NASDAQ stock market, the stock market for the next 100 years. By Alberto VO5 for great hair. VO5 does so much. And by Mobil Motor Oil. At Mobil, we've been changing oil for over 125 years.
Welcome back to Belmont, where the horses are on the track for the Juvenile Fillies. Number 1, Cara Raffaella, first of the 3 Lucas Fillies, roughly face of Raffaella in English, named for the daughter of the owner, Goncalo Torrealba of Brazil. Winner of Keeneland's Alcibiades Stakes, though she lost to Golden Attraction by a neck in the Matron. 2-horse Mystic Rhythms, a long shot, ridden by leading New Jersey rider Joe Bravo. She's raced mostly in Jersey, winning 4 of 6. 3 is the favorite Golden Attraction, owned and bred by W.T. Young, one of the wealthiest residents of Lexington, Kentucky. Got his fortune started making peanut butter. Leader of the division, Golden Attraction's only loss was a second on a sloppy track in the sorority. The 4-horse Ocean View scratched. The 5 typically Irish. Lucas filly owned by Michael Tabor, former British betting shop magnate who campaigned Thunder Gulch. She's riding a 3-race winning streak, and she does have early speed. 6-horse Flat Fleet Feet, the race caller's nightmare, trained by John Kimmel, son of the owner and a veterinarian who gave up his practice to train 8 years ago. She chased Golden Attraction in her last 2 races. 7, La Rosa, the first offspring of 2 Breeders' Cup winners to race on Championship Day. Her sire, Wild Again, won the first Classic, and her mama, Twilight Ridge, took the 85 Juvenile Fillies. She was beaten 30 lengths by Golden Attraction in her only stake start. The 8 Gastronomical, California-based filly, trained by Gary Jones, with Kent DeSormo looking for his 2nd Breeders' Cup win, had a troubled trip behind Typically Irish in the Oakleaf. And the 9, My Flag, a filly with an attitude, sometimes excused from the post parade for bad manners. Her damn personal ensign won the Breeders' Cup Distaff in her unbeaten career. My Flag has finished behind Golden Attraction 3 times. Wayne Lucas has won the Juvenile Fillies 3 times, on each occasion running 1-2. One of the great things about racing is there's always a new day with a slate wiped clean. That's what we're doing for our handicappers. Let's go to Bob Newmeyer and Mike Battaglia.
All right, thanks, Tom. We need a clean slate, don't we, Bob?
Well, here at Belmont Park, Mike, when it rains, front speed generally plays very well. It seems to have a big advantage over the years here at Belmont. We'll see how it plays out today. But as we mentioned, 2-year-old fillies, Wayne Lucas.
He is definitely the king of the 2-year-olds. I mean, he has not done anything wrong with his 2-year-olds, and it's tough for me to pick. Here we see last year's Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies with Flanders outgaming Serena's Song. Of course, Flanders, the ill-fated Flanders, her last race ever. Serena's Song went on to be a great 3-year-old, and she's racing today. He's definitely the king. He's got 3 horses in today. Of the 3, I think the best is Golden Attraction. I mean, she's just done everything right. You mentioned speed. She's got that. She went to the front in the Matron last time out, stayed there all the way. You know, the horse that might press her is Typically Irish, another Lucas filly. But I think that she might be a cut below. I do like her in the exacta, though. I like Golden Attraction on top, and the other Lucas filly, Typically Irish, 2nd.
Well, you've mentioned 2 out of the 3, but you haven't mentioned the one that's going to win the race. And that would be Cara Raffaella. She's up there at 5-1 on the board, a nice price. After all, she was only beaten a neck by Golden Attraction, and there she is, a daughter of Quiet American, who was a son of Fabiano. Should like the off-track. Pat Day is the rider. Cara Raffaella, a square price. Again, she has come back since that close second to Golden Attraction to win a nice stake at Keeneland. I think you'll see Pat try to position her away from that inside. We'll be watching the inside post today. I think he'll try to get her outside, but Lucas
We agree
here
on Lucas.
in the Juvenile Fillies, Tom.
Yes.
All right, guys, and let's take a look at the odds. Cara Raffaella, one of the Lucas Fillies, is 5-1. The favorite, Golden Attraction, now down to 6-5. Typically Irish, the third Lucas horse, is 8-1. And second choice in the betting now is My Flag at 3-1. So let's go to Wayne Lucas and see what he says about his three fillies.
We've got the royally bred filly in Golden Attraction. Her mother won the Oaks by Seattle Slew, one of the great female lines in the business. And then she's, of course, by Mr. Prospector. Now, that's the marriage in heaven that worked. It doesn't always happen, but it did. That's Liz Taylor, Richard Burton, and the child can act. So that works. Now, and she acts like it. I mean, she's there, she is. Then you get into Cara Raffaella, who is from a first-year sire, Quiet American, cost $60,000 as a yearling at Keeneland, was in late in the September sale. So that's the country girl, got to the stage and made good. And then you got Typically Irish that just wouldn't have any doors open for her, got a very obscure pedigree in a lot of ways. Another first-year sire, did not cost a lot, but just bullied her way into the big dance. She said, I'm going if I got a date or not, to get out of the way. And she's that type, and she'll bully her way to the wire.
And there is Wayne Lucas getting set to watch the first Breeders' Cup race, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, when we return. All right, Ahmad, as the horses approach the starting gate, a recheck of the odds. Cara Raffaella 9-2, Golden Attraction 6-5 favorite, Typically Irish at 9-1. La Rosa 8-1, and My Flag second choice at 3-1. Let's take a look at the course description now. These Juvenile Fillies will be racing the longest distance of their career for many of them. At Belmont, it's a little less stressful, though, because it's only one turn at Belmont for 1 1/16, with a sprint to the wire for $1 million winner's share. Juvenile Fillies Breeders' Cup record held by Eliza, the Belmont Park track record key contender. Tom Durkin has called every Breeders' Cup race. He's going to have to contend with flat, fleet feet in today's race. Tom Durkin, the voice of the Breeders' Cup, to call the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies.
Horses have reached the starting gate for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. Cara Raffaella taking her spot. 3 white bridles peering through that starting gate. Fixed to fillies trained by Wayne Lucas, who has won this race 3 times, and the odds are good he'll do it again. Among the 3 is the favorite, Golden Attraction, at 6-5 as she moves into line. My Flag, the last one to move in, ready for the start of the 95 Breeders' Cup. Settled down at the gate. And they're off. Gastronomical stumbled leaving the starting gate, and Golden Attraction bounces immediately to the front. Typically Irish has come out second, and Flat Fleet Feet is third. Cara Raffaella has come up the inside fourth, and the Lucas Fillies now are 1, 2, 3. Just in behind that group, it's Mystic Rhythms now close to the pace fifth. 2 lengths back to La Rosa, who's hard held there by Jose Santos, rating 6 lengths from front running favorite Golden Attraction. And then it's My Flag, who's now about 8 lengths from the lead. She's beginning to move up methodically. And after a stumbling start, Gastronomical trails the field. The opening quarter went in 23 seconds flat. Golden Attraction is the leader. Mild pressure from her stablemate, Cara Raffaella, to her inside. Typically Irish is sitting off the pace today, running in third. Flat Fleet Feet fourth. And then it's Mystic Rhythms down on the inside, running in fifth. The Rosa's still unhurried, 6 lengths from the lead. My Flag beginning to pick it up at the half-mile pole. They ran a half in 46 2/5 seconds. Around the far turn, and the Lucas Fillies are still 1, 2, 3. Here comes Cara Raffaella now, putting more pressure on Golden Attraction, but Golden Attraction responds in kind and lets it out a notch to lead 3/4 of a length. Cara Raffaella second, but here comes a challenge
the shadow of the wire. Golden Attraction finishing third. Was it a tactical blunder by the Lucas Fillies? Cara Raffaella and Golden Attraction dueling themselves into defeat. And Shug McGahee's runner, My Flag, comes from off the pace to win.
The relentless drive of My Flag through the stretch. Jerry Bailey had the two Lucas Fillies measured, and he just kept driving My Flag. A daughter of Easy Goer out of Personal Ensign. Personal Ensign, who had one of the best races in history to beat Winning Colors, a Lucas Filly in the Distaff. My Flag giving Ogden Phipps his third Breeders' Cup win, sixth for trainer Shug McGahee. My Flag, a stirring victory as the Lucas Fillies finished second and third when it looked a 16th of a mile from home and as if they would run 1-2. Let's go to Greg McCarron to talk with winning rider Jerry Bailey.
Yeah, I've got Jerry with me. Jerry looked like she got up there just the last stride or so.
Yeah, I put her in the game more today. I didn't want to leave her as much to overcome. For a minute there, turning her home, I didn't think she had the same punch. But then I got her completely in the clear, and she fired really big.
It was really great to see you just run down those horses right at the end there. Congratulations, Jerry. Tom?
Fourth Breeders' Cup win for Jerry Bailey. We'll be back. My Flag in the off-going has just run the fastest Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies at the mile and a 16th distance, 1:42 2/5. Golden Attraction had beaten My Flag her last two races. My Flag turns the tables, and Mike Battaglia is with Gary Stevens.
Thanks, Tom. And Gary Stevens, you had the favorite, Golden Attraction. She's done everything well. Did she just not handle the mud this afternoon?
She's run twice on an off track and been beaten both times on it. She doesn't have the same response coming into the stretch that what she does on a fast racetrack. She was doing well today, went to the gate sharp, and just doesn't get over the ground as good as what she does on a fast racetrack. The winner, you got to give her a lot of credit. She's been knocking on the door, chasing my filly all fall back here, and she ran her race today, got over the racetrack good, so you got to give her credit.
Even on the off track, it looked like you had a handful of horse. Were you a little bit surprised that they did run by you?
Well, I'm telling you what, Mike, you're running with the best fillies in the country today, and there's no room for a horse not performing their best race. Even though I had a lot of horse coming into the stretch, it would have been enough to beat most fillies, but with the fillies that were behind her today, it's not enough. You need everything in the tank, and you need the response that you normally get on, in this filly's case, on a fast racetrack.
Thanks, Gary. Over to Bob Newmar with Pat Day.
And there we see number one, Cara Raffaella and jockey Pat Day. Pat, boy, if there was ever a race that you looked like you were home, that was it.
Well, once I got past Golden Attraction, I thought I was home free. You know, Shug's filly just came out of the clouds. Jerry rode a great race. We were second best today. My filly gave 110%. She tried hard, ran hard, and I'm very pleased with her effort.
Did you see or hear from the winner at any point down the stretch, or were you, in fact, locked in on Gary and Golden Attraction?
Once I got past Gary, I glanced back, and I really didn't see anybody. I thought, you know, like I said, I thought I was home free, and then I heard her coming. I looked again, and she was coming with a head of steam, and my filly was kicking as hard as she could. We just got outfooted the last 40 yards.
Pat Day, a tough luck second with Cara Raffaella here in the Juvenile Fillies. Tom?
All right, and here are the payoffs. My Flag returning $9, $5, $2.80. Cara Raffaella second. Golden Attraction, the favorite, finishing third. The exacta paid $42.40. The Juvenile Fillies in all but one of its runnings has produced the 2-year-old champion filly. And we'll see if My Flag off this one victory can get it or whether the voters will care for Golden Attraction. Official order of finish, My Flag, Cara Raffaella, Golden Attraction. La Rosa, who got some support, finished fifth. Typically Irish, the other Lucas horse, sixth. Flat, Fleet Feet, and Gastronomical was way back. So, My Flag from the Phipps stable, trained by Shug McGahee and ridden by Jerry Bailey, get us off to a good start. Let's go to the presentation now. Marianne Grabavoy.
Well, thank you, Tom. A little bit of racing history today for one of New York's premier racing families, the Phipps family. My Flag becomes the first Breeders' Cup winner whose dam, Personal Ensign, also won a Breeders' Cup race here at the Distaff in 1988, also under the Phipps colors. And here to present the trophy is Mr. D.G. Van Cleef, the Breeders' Cup Limited Executive Director. He'll present it to Denny Phipps, the son of Ogden Phipps, the owner, of My Flag. And also to our left here is Shug McGahee, our trainer. Thank you, and with the presentation, please.
Denny, congratulations on this fine filly replicating her dam's performance. Wonderful.
Thank you, D.G. It's a great thrill for all of us. And
Jerry and Shug really they did a wonderful job.
Denny, thank you very much, and congratulations. We'll go back to Tom Hammond. Tom, back up to you.
All right, so the Phipps connection's very much in evidence there. Easy Goer, who twice was second in Breeders' Cup Championship Day, and Personal Ensign, who won the Distaff and one of the great finishes of all time to beat Winning Colors at Churchill Downs. Their offspring, My Flag, wins the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. Well, the Sprint comes up next. This is the race that had, over the last few years anyway, been first on the card, moved into the second spot. And here are the morning line odds. Golden Gear at 12-1. Classy Mirage was to have been the mount that would be the final ending for Angel Cordero, but was scratched just a couple of hours before race time today. Not surprising, the favorite at 3-1. Friendly Lover da Hoss. You see the others all the way down to Heaver Golf Rose from Europe, a filly at 6-1. Lake Coniston, also a European invader, at 8-1. And we have 3 horses in the field: Owington, Desert Stormer, and Lee de Justice. And the horses just now gathering in the paddock. You see them making their way over from the backstretch here at Belmont Park. And it is park-like atmosphere here because it has lots of flowers, trees. The stables are among the most attractive in America. And so we have seen the first race in the books. They ran extremely fast, the fastest mile and a 16th ever for Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. And I'm wondering, John Beach, what that tells us about the condition of the racetrack.
Well, when this racetrack gets wet the way it is right now, Tom, it does get very speedy. I think one of the things that we saw that we might keep in mind for the rest of the day is that My Flag, Shug McGahee's filly, with Jerry Bailey up, came on the outside. And to make that run, as we've seen here in the past, horses on the outside seem to have a little bit of advantage. The rail has been a little bit dead here in the past. We did see in the first race where a horse showed a little bit of courage on the rail, but again, a horse on the outside overcame it. So the place to be might well be on the outside.
You know, a while ago we saw Greg McCarron give us the goggles demonstration. The horses have a built-in goggle, don't they?
They sure do. A horse certainly can't stop in the middle of a race and take his handkerchief out of his pocket. So what he must do is he's got a second eyelid. It's something that nature's instilled in them, and it just clears the eye of any debris. So as they're running, as they get sand, or as they on the turf courses, they will get a bit of grass in their eyes, will basically that eyelid will just actually go up and down like a windshield wiper. And it's amazing how effective it is.
All right, so it was a celebration for the Phipps stable, for Jerry Bailey, and for Shug McGahee in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. He won't notice the mud. My Flag got the money. Light rain falling at Belmont Park as the horses gather to be saddled for the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Let's check the current odds. Golden Gear at 6-1, not surprising. 9-2. You and I now is the 3-1 favorite. Hoss and Our Emblem both at 8-1. Heaver Golf Rose from Europe at 13. Track Gal at 8-1, and the rest double digits for this $1 million 6-furlong dash. Well, there is a human story in this race too. The favorite, not surprising, is ridden by regular New York jockey Robbie Davis. Robbie Davis, of course, is not one of the marquee names among the riding colony here at Belmont Park, but is very solid. Last year, Robbie Davis had one mount in the Breeders' Cup, his first appearance since he was involved in a fatal accident at Belmont in 1988. He grew up in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains in Pocatello, Idaho. His father left the family when Robbie was 2. His stepfather was convicted of child sexual abuse. Mostly, Robbie survived.
My uncle was killed when I was 18, and 2 months before I started riding horses, he told me, be the best you can. He says, and don't stop until you are. He says, don't stick around these little tracks around here. Go out there and be the best you can. My mother was married several times, and we lived on welfare. I never had any extra spending money. I had to kind of collect beer cans and mow lawns and hustle to make any extra spending money for new shoes and new clothes. And I knew how to bite the bullet and try to dig in and to really compete and to fight for just bread and milk and food. that was our life then, and I didn't know any different. And I didn't want to live that life again.
So at 27, Robbie went to Belmont Park. He made more money than he ever imagined. $2,000 for one race win. More money than he had made in 3 years of racing.
I was such a fierce competitor in '88 that all I wanted to do was win, and I really didn't have a life other than winning. I would abuse a horse to an extent to win that it was almost inhumane at times. You know, putting other riders and horses at risk. When you put yourself under that much stress, something's got to give.
Something's got to give. It was a Thursday, October 13th, 1988, Belmont Park. No big stakes race, no great crowds. Robbie Davis and his best friend Mike Venezia were both riding in the 5th race of the day on the turf.
I was down inside, and then all of a sudden, a horse broke down in front of me, directly in front of me, and I pulled him out, my horse out, to miss him, and then his horse veered out, so I pulled back in, and he came off the side, and I ran right over the top of him, directly over the top of him, and it was just like, it just happened so quick. I didn't have, you know, any chance to respond after that, and I knew right at that point that the way I went over the top of him, that I'd had to kill him immediately. And I'd ask the rider inside of me, I said, who was it? You know, who was it? And I was just like screaming. He says, I think it was Venezia. And I said, oh my God, Nicky. And I killed him. I said, I swear, I think I killed him, Nick.
After the accident, Robbie Davis left racing entirely for 6 months, preferring instead to spend time with his 6 children. It was 4.5 years before he could return to Belmont Park. The accident has changed the way he rides.
There's a fine line that you can go to, and I just don't cross that line anymore. I'm kind of like the bread and butter rider for all the smaller trainers. I don't have any of the great big trainers like the Lucases and, you know, the Motts, but I do ride a lot of nice horses, and I'm really proud of that.
And just a few moments ago, Robbie Davis striding to the paddock to take them out on the favorite, not surprising. And his wife Marguerite, who has been a great source of support through these tough times, will be in the paddock as well. You know, I knew Mike Venezia not well, but I had talked to him on several times. He was a wonderful guy. He was Robbie Davis's best friend, and you have to think that some way he's riding in the saddle with Robbie today in the biggest race of Robbie's career. One encouraging note, jockeys now all wear flak jackets to prevent many life-threatening injuries. They'll all be wearing them today. It's mandatory. In fact, the flak jackets have already saved some jockeys' lives. Julie Crone comes immediately to mind with a bad spill at Saratoga. The flak jock saved her life. So they are under more protection now than ever before. Well, the handicappers have been studying the form for this 6-furlong dash, the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Let's go to Mike and Bob.
You need a Ouija board for this one.
Well, it's tough not to root for Robbie Davis after seeing that piece, but he's on the favorite. I'm looking for a little bit of value in this one. I think this is wide open. It's there's 5 or 6 contenders in here. I'm looking at the board. I see Track Gal at 8-1. I got to take a shot for Track Gal. I think that she's the fastest of the fast. I think when the gate opens, she's in front. I think that she beat Siphon, who came back and won yesterday's sports page. I thought that was a very impressive race. She's won 6 in a row, and she's best at 6 furlongs. I think you add all that up. Bob's shaking his head. Now, I never pay any attention when he shakes his head. No, I've learned that a long time ago. But I think she gets to the front in here. I think controls the pace. She's controlling speed in here. I think she's going to be very tough to catch at a price. I'm done with the favorites today.
Yeah, I know fillies have done well in this race. I know she has speed. But what about a touch of class, Mike? What about the horse that has been successful at longer distances and then now cuts back to 6 furlongs. Such a horse as You and I. He won the Met Mile here at Belmont earlier and the Brooklyn at 1 1/8 miles. He draws a nice outside post position, number 9, enough speed to be close to your fast filly Track Gal. And then, of course, Bobby Frankel. He's won many races in his storied career. He's a Hall of Fame guy. He has never won a Breeders' Cup race. He has a big chance with You and I. But a horse I also have a very soft spot for, another of those horses that fit that profile, Mike. Classy middle distance horses cutting back, DeHaas. He's a nice price. He's up at the board at 9 to 1. Hey, he's 3 for 3 at this distance. He's won 7 races this year. Again, no particular off-track form, but if you're looking for a square price on a live long shot, DeHaas right here ain't named Paul Revere. It's named DeHaas.
Oh, I'm glad you said that and not me. Back to you, Tom.
All right, so who did you pick, Bob? Which one did you pick?
Hey, I'm sticking with my filly, Track Gal.
And which one did Bob take?
I pick You and I and DeHaas.
All right.
Who do you like, Tom?
Just for the record, that neither one picked the winner of the Juvenile Fillies, and I can't believe they're not taking, not surprising, unbeaten at 6 furlongs, 7 for 7 at 6 furlongs. They're missing the boat on this one. Horses are starting to make their way out of the paddock toward the track for the Breeders' Cup Sprint, and there is Robbie Davis, who rides not surprising. He's the rags to riches story in this field. Judson Van Warp, Robert Van Warp, trainer and owner respectively, and they have never won a Breeders' Cup race. A Florida-bred son of medieval man going to the track, trying to extend his 6 furlong record to 8 wins in 8 lifetime starts. The rain is continuing to fall lightly here. You see the umbrellas up in the paddock. And the track still listed officially as good. Update the odds. Golden Gear on the rail at 7 to 1. John Beach saying maybe that rail was not the place to be today. Not surprising is 4 to 1. Friendly Lover at 12. DeHaas is a 9 to 1 shot. You and I has taken over favoritism at 3 to 1. Our Emblem is 9 to 1. Heber Golf Rose at 12. Mr. Greeley, longest shot on the board. Mike's pick Track Gal is 8 to 1. Lake Coniston is 9. And 3 horses in the mutual field. You get 3 for the price of 1 there, and the field at 14 to 1. 6 furlongs is the most prevalent distance in American racing, and as we said, the Sprint was often the very first race on the card. Some thought maybe with the excitement of the day to come and the fact that there's no finesse involved, it's just the gate opens and you run as fast as you can, that maybe it was better not being the first race. We told you that not surprising was foaled in Florida, and 4 Sprint winners have been foaled in that state. Elo, Precisionist, Smile, and Cherokee Run. And a couple of fillies have won the Sprint, so Hever Golf Rose from England trying to duplicate that feat. And as the horses make their way onto the track for the Sprint, we'll take a look at them. They answer the call to the post with number 1 Golden Gear, owned by Barry Golden, a vice president of Gear for Sports. Golden Gear, dangerous with his stalking style, comes off a big win at Keeneland and is 5 of 7 at the 6 furlong distance. 2 Classy Mirage would have been Angel Cordero's mount, scratched. Number 3, Not Surprising, and it wasn't surprising he was the morning line favorite, not to me anyway. This gelding was bought for $7,200, the price of a Wayne Lucas suit at Ocala, Florida. Has earned over $800,000 and has won 4 in a row. The 4 horses Friendly Lover, G. Watts Humphrey, one of the owners. His grandfather George was Eisenhower Secretary of the Treasury, and the 7-year-old has quite a treasury himself, over $1 million. Has 17 wins at 6 furlongs. 5 is DeHaas, the first of 2 3-year-olds in the field, ridden by Jerry Bailey, second in jockey earnings this year, won the Juvenile Fillies. In '94, DeHaas ran the fastest 6 furlongs ever by a 2-year-old, 1:07.1, though he has been running longer this year. 6 horse You and I. Trainer Bobby Frankel was inducted into the Racing Hall of Fame this summer, but has never won a Breeders' Cup race, as Bob said. You and I could do it, though. He hasn't run 6 furlongs this year. Much he's been running longer, but he is a threat and now the favorite. 7 is Our Emblem, the older half-brother to My Flag, who won the Juvenile Fillies from one of the great families of New York racing, the Phipps family. Behind, Not Surprising in his last 2. He's a closer, sometimes acts up in the gate. The 8-horse Heaver Golf Rose, first time on dirt for the filly, owned by Michael Henson, a resident of the Canary Islands, member of the Heaver Golf Club. She's won 7 of her last 8 in Italy, Germany, England, Sweden, and France on one occasion, with only 3 days between races and countries. The 9-horse Mr. Greeley, whose sire, Gone West, took Horace Greeley's advice. Nick Zito looks for his first Breeders' Cup win, and Julie Crone would be the first female jockey to take a championship race, though he has lost his last 5. 10 is Track Gal. Owners Old No 71 and Phipps 87 used to sit next to each other at Santa Anita, decided to buy horses together. And this filly can go right out of the gate. She's won 6 in a row, beat the boys in her last start. 11 is Lake Coniston from England. And in the outside post, one of the owners, Harry Herbert, is the son of the Queen's racing manager. He's won 3 of 5 this year, but has never raced on dirt. 3 horses, as we said, in the mutual field. Number 12, Owington, owned by one of Germany's oldest racing families. Hasn't won a race this year, though. 13 horse is Desert Stormer, a 5-year-old mare ridden by Kent DeSormo. She's been away from the races since August, her first time against the boys today. And 14 is Lee de Justice, a history of acting up and refusing to enter the starting gate. We'll keep a close eye on him. He was last behind Not Surprising in the Vosburg here at Belmont. So there is your field, 13 of them in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, 6 furlongs, a dash for a purse of $1 million when we come back to Belmont Park. Breeders' Cup 12 underway at Belmont Park. My Flag, winner of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, and we're coming up now to the sprint. We'll turn the speedballs loose in about 2 minutes. Let's check the odds. Golden Gear at 7, Not Surprising 7-2. Now co-favorites with You and I, who is also at 7-2. Our Emblem at 9-1. Heaver Golf Rose standing on the board at 12. Track Gal at 7-1, and the field 13-1 in this 6 furlong Breeders' Cup Sprint. And it is a shame that Angel Cordero had his mount scratched. He was hoping to go out on a better note. He, of course, had wound up his career with an accident, didn't ride again, took out a training license, but has come back, rode in Puerto Rico, and here at Belmont was going to have his last mount here in the sprint, but his horse was scratched. You talked to him on the phone, right?
I did. I talked to him this morning, Tom, and he was very emotional about it. He was very much looking forward to today, riding for the last time. You know, here's a man that's entire life, and the man does not accomplish what Angel Cordero does just because he wants to be a jockey or just because he wants to ride. It's got to be part of his soul, and that was Angel. When every time that he got on a horse, he was there to do the very best he possibly could. And he really was pumped up to be here today, and it's been a great disappointment, and he decided not to come out at all. He wanted to watch it on television, be with his family. Angel, we know you're watching. Don't take it too hard. Seriously, right. We all love you, and you've been a great jockey and a great man in racing.
The great all-time New York favorite, as a matter of fact. Well, we do have a field in here, field horses, so post positions don't correspond to the saddlecloth numbers. Here are the actual post positions for the race. Not Surprising is in 3, DeHaas in 7, You and I in the 8 hole, and Lake Coniston will be on the extreme outside. Well, Our Emblem and Lee de Justice sometimes give a problem at the gate. Lee de Justice, in fact, in the Pat O'Brien out in California, would not go in the gate. They had to unload every horse in the gate to get Lee de Justice in. They've got him blindfolded trying to get in. Greg, you're out there.
Yeah, Tom, I spoke with the starter, Bob Duncan, the other day, and he said that this horse held up the start one time really seriously. And what they did was they found out if they put the blindfold on him, take the jockey off, that he will walk in, and that's what they're hoping to do. Both he and Our Emblem will be loaded out of their order. One is going in first, the other is second, in hopes that they will act good once they're in the gate. And it looks like they're going to start getting them in now. Tom?
So far, so good with the 2 bad actors, Our Emblem and Lee de Justice. In this race, DeHaas, Mr. Greeley, Track Gal, all wearing mudcocks. It's $1 million, 6 furlongs. And as the horses continue to load, the purse $1 million. Let's take a look at the Breeders' Cup Sprint record. As we get them in the gates, there you see 30 slews, groovy, the Belmont Park mark. Yep. Let's go to Tom Durkin for the Breeders' Cup Sprint.
And waiting for the final horses to move into line. Here's something for everyone. in this year's Breeders' Cup Sprint. The sensationally fast track gal about to move into the starting gate. Stretch running our emblem. Very classy UNI. The tepid favorite here is not surprising. Undefeated at this 6 furlong distance. We're still waiting for Desert Stormer and track gal and the English Invader Lake Coniston.
Open door out here.
Desert Stormer a bit of a problem, but now moves in. Track gal breaking way on the outside. Post 12 of this field of 13, and she's a bit hesitant as well until outside the British speedball. Track gal is in, ready for the start of the sprint.
You got him! We're not ready, everybody relax. We are not ready. Relax. Greg, you tell me when you're ready.
Appear to be standing
Let's get tied on.
in good order at this point. And they're off. Owington was off a beat slowly. Heber Golf Rose flashing speed on the outside. Desert Stormer aggressively ridden. Desert Stormer now grabs a short lead. Heber Golf Rose is right there. Track gal caught 4 wide heading for the turn. Mr. Greeley comes on through. It's Mr. Greeley and Desert Stormer. Track gal on the outside now running in third. Heber Golf Rose is fourth. England's Lake Coniston is fifth on the outside. DeHaas between horses running sixth. Golden Gear is seventh. Not surprising. Is racing eighth. Owington after that slow start is now ninth. Friendly Lover is 10th. You and I well back today, running 11th on the outside, and our emblem is stalled in traffic with only 1 horse beaten. Late running Lead de Justice as they move toward the top of the stretch. It's Mr. Greeley and Julie Crone with a short lead as the field now turns for home. The opening quarter in a sensational 21 3/5 seconds. Desert Stormer running the race of her life today. Down inside, Desert Stormer, Mr. Greeley, headlong into the final furlong. Heber Golf Rose is running third. Here comes Not Surprising, putting his late bid on the outside. Lead de Justice coming with giant strides down the center of the track. Desert Stormer digging down deep, turning back the challenge of Mr. Greeley. Here's the line. Desert Stormer, a shocker to win it here by a head over Mr. Greeley. Lead de Justice was closing fast, but no better than third today, and the final time was 109 flat.
109 flat as they blaze the 3/4 of a mile, opening up with a 21 3 first quarter. 109.14 officially on Desert Stormer, a Stormcat mare, bred in Kentucky and owned by Joanne Noor, trained by Frank Lyons and booted home here by Kent DeSormo. Kent DeSormo on the inside. We said maybe it wasn't the best part of the racetrack, but look at him with a hand ride. Gave her a couple of taps with a whip. That's a long shot, Mr. Greeley and Julie Crone just to the outside. Desert Stormer, though, gets home to get the money as a member of the Mutual field in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. An upset in the sprint. Hats off to Desert Stormer and Kent DeSormo.
This guy's only been a head trainer since May of '95.
You're looking at Desert Stormer, winner of the Breeders' Cup Sprint. What about this? The first Breeders' Cup start ever for the owner, Joanne Noor, and the trainer, Frank Lyons, who had his trainer's license only a matter of months now. It's the first time we assume that Desert Stormer has faced the boys. The past performances don't show any other races that way. She's been off since August, but did Frank Lyons ever have her ready? It's only the second field horse to ever win a Breeders' Cup race. Let's go down to Bob Newmeyer.
I'm with Julie Crone. Tom, I know it's been your dream to win a Breeders' Cup race, Julie, and you came awfully close today with Mr. Greeley. Tell us about the race.
He's really quick, and he's back on his form, and the bottom line is it's down to the horses, and he left there fast as could be today, and Nick told me just to let him go, and I just let him go, and it was a really beautiful battle through the stretch, and I came up on the second end stick of it, but that's all right.
He's been a kind of a kooky horse, I think you'd agree. Some days he runs great. He ran a terrific second here behind French Deputy when the last time you rode him, but he's an in-and-out kind. Did you have a feeling he might run for you today?
Oh, yeah, I knew he was going to run. Nick said he was going to probably win, and he had a lot of confidence in him.
You're happy for a second?
Yeah, it's better to win. So you could cry right now if you were supposed to, but try again next time.
All right, Julie, thank you. Julie Crone, a tough second here in the sprint.
All right, Bob, a story of fillies. Julie was second, and the winner was a filly, Desert Stormer, the third filly to win the sprint. One of the others safely kept, did it here at Belmont in '90. Let's go to Trevor Denman.
Okay, let's take a look here at Leader Justice. Here he is, stone last. He's got to be a good 15 lengths off the leaders who are out here. Down at the rail, the eventual winner, Desert Stormer. And just outside of him in the gold colors, Mr. Greeley. And watch now as we see Corey Nakatani trying to find a way through. Right here, he's in behind a pack of horses. That's Pat Day on his outside in the black colors on our emblem, also looking for a way through. Right here, Leader Justice is still far back, and you can almost see Kari Nakatani now looking. Which way should he go? Inside, outside? He tries to get a hole right there. It blocks him. Eventually, he comes way on the outside, so that had to cost him a rhythm. Now you can see Leader Justice lengthening his stride, and he's flying down the center of the track, but he must have been a good 12 lengths off them with a quarter of a mile to go. And in a Breeders' Cup Sprint, you just can't give that much start to these fine horses. But a huge run from Leader Justice. Lady Luck had been on his side. He had found a hole early. He could easily have finished up in the winner's circle, but he has to settle for third today. Big run, though, from Leader Justice.
All right, as the rain continues to fall at Belmont, the field horses, Desert Stormer and Leader Justice, running 1-3 in this race. And Robbie Davis, on Not Surprising, finishing fourth. Let's go to Mike Battaglia.
Okay, with Kent DeSormo still on the scale. Kent, one heck of a mare. She was outbroke by Track Gal last time out. I read a quote where the trainer said she wasn't going to get outbroke today. Did he tell you to send her?
Yeah, he absolutely did. Last time, I tell you, we thought we had to outclass Lakeway, and she was a filly that I ride actually in the next race, so I rode a little bit different, trying to beat Lakeway. Today, we said they got to catch us, and they didn't. So different tactics got her home.
Julie Krohn gave you all that you wanted there at the end, though. She was pressing you all the way.
No doubt. There was a lot of pressure all the way, and I tell you, this mare boxed away from there really strong. She had to hold off her all the way down the backside, got maybe an eighth of a mile breather around the turn, and then all the way down the lane. He's pushing her, and she was strong enough for her to hold onto the wire.
It's a real quick time. How's the track?
The track is really gooey. It's deep. It's sticky. It's not a tight fast. It's not deep slow, but it's gummy kind of, you know.
Thank you, Kent. All right, back to you, Tom.
Like gumbo.
All right, Mike. Gumbo, John Veach says, is the consistency of the track. Here is the payoff. Desert Stormer, $31, $15.60 and $16.40. More to show because the field horses ran 1-3. Mr. Greeley paid $28 and $15.80. What about that exacta? $733 and the trifecta $4,000. Here's the official order of finish. Not surprising, as we said, finishing fourth. Friendly Lover fifth. As we go on down the list, you and I, Bob Newmeyer's pick was 8th. Track Gal, Mike Battaglia's pick was 11th. And DeHaas, Newmeyer's other pick, was 13th. Let's go to Marianne Grabavoy now for the trophy presentation.
Well, thanks a lot, Tom. Joanne Knorr's been in this business for 20 years. Today, she beats the big boys with a homebred. And here to make the presentation today is Mr. Kenny No, the president and chairman of the New York Racing Association. Mr. No, do the honors.
Thank you. Congratulations, hon.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Joanne, a homebred, what a feeling. Did you ever think you could do this today?
Well, we knew she liked the mud, but we weren't sure about which racetrack. But she's always done well in the mud, and when it started to rain, I just thought the odds were in my favor then.
Was your heart pounded?
Yes, they didn't give her much credit in the form, but we knew she could do it.
And Frank Lyons, your first Breeders' Cup starter and your first win.
First win, well, I'd like to thank these two people standing right next to me. A special thanks to them. It's a great feeling, great feeling.
What a feeling. Congratulations to everybody. Tom, back up to you.
All right, Marianne, and the celebration in the winner's circle, and for Robbie Davis, disappointment. Fourth was all he could manage on Not Surprising in his attempt to put his racing history here at Belmont Park behind him and to let his career continue. Coming up, we'll have the Breeders' Cup Distaff, two of racing's best trainers, Shug McGahee and Wayne Lucas, will take center stage at Belmont Park. Breeders' Cup 12 underway in the rain at Belmont Park. Surprises in the first two races, the Juvenile Fillies and the Sprint. And now we come up to the Distaff, $1 million for fillies and mares. Here are the morning line odds. The Shug McGahee entry, inside information, heavenly prize, 6-5. Lakeway at 8-1. Serena Song, second choice at 8-5. Mariah Storm, who beat Serena Song a couple of races ago, is at 8-1. And there is Wayne Lucas, and behind him, the talented 3-year-old filly, Serena Song. She has beaten the boys this year. She ran against them in the Kentucky Derby. She's the only Derby starter racing today Not one of her great moments this year, though. 16 of 19 in the Kentucky Derby, but she has been outstanding all season long. She's one of the favorites, of course, here in the Distaff. 3 years ago, a very special hot air balloon was built and named Serena's Song. And about the same time, a foal was born and unknowingly named the same. Now the two are linked in spirit and purpose to a girl living in Iowa. Marianne Grabavoy has a story of incredible coincidence. Some say fate.
Serena started as a miracle.
At her birth, she had been dead for 21 minutes. And we were told that she was severely damaged and that we should turn off the ventilator. But that decision had to be Shara and I's. We decided that we could do that. And when we did, and Serena refused to die and began to fight, I became aware that I was in the presence of a real champion.
So the little girl whose heart kept on beating is now 12 years old with cerebral palsy, a quadriplegic, and living in an institution.
The hardest thing I've ever had to do dealing with Serena was to place her in a facility. It was the hardest day of my life. I did make her a promise, though, when I left her there, and I simply told her I'd be back.
In their daughter's absence and in their daughter's spirit, the Waldmans have found a way for physically challenged children to leave their earthbound limitations behind. They built the world's first wheelchair-accessible balloon, and over 3,000 children have known the joy and freedom of soaring. They named it Serena's Song.
This balloon, Serena's Song, is about the magic of flight. The person may be in a wheelchair a foot from the gondola, but once they're a foot off the ground, they're flying. They're no longer in a wheelchair. They're in a hot air balloon, and they're floating. And as one young child said to me, it's the first time I've ever looked down on a tree. It's magic. We've had miracle after miracle happen around this thing. We've had children speak their first words. We've seen children that have never stood pull themselves up out of their wheelchairs and stand in the gondola just to look over the side. It's just overwhelming. Last year at this time, the bank wanted to foreclose on the balloon and cash out the whole project. I was desperate, and that led to the letter to Bob and Beverly Lewis.
We were so impressed with their program and with what they were doing and their commitment to all handicapped, wheelchair-confined peoples that we just felt we wanted to assist them and be a part of this program.
So every time Serena's Song races, the Lewises donate money for Serena's care and the Balloon Project. It's almost as if the filly senses their destinies are one.
Every beat of this horse's heart is beating strength into this little girl. And every stride that horse takes is a stride that this little girl can't take for herself. I'm sure that Bob and Beverly do feel a certain amount of attachment and pride in what they're doing for this little girl and for what the balloon is doing for the whole nation of disabled children that we're able to serve.
The Waldmans had hoped to be here at Belmont Park today along with their very special balloon, but right now their attention is focused solely on their daughter Serena, who's scheduled for spinal fusion surgery in 3 weeks. It's a surgery that could have life-threatening complications, but if all goes well, she'll be able to sit up and enjoy a better quality of life. So right now, back home in Correctionville, Iowa, the Waldmans and their daughter Serena are gathered around the TV. Their hearts and their hopes lie with a little girl and a filly named Serena.
Tom, up to you.
All right, Marianne, and Serena Song's owners are there, Bob and Beverly Lewis, two of the nicest people in thoroughbred racing. And the Lewises hope that their 3-year-old filly, Serena Song, will soar today.
The Breeders' Cup Distaff is sponsored by Alberto VO5 for great hair. VO5 does so much.
Here are the current odds for the Breeders' Cup Distaff. The inside information Heavenly Prize entry is at 3-5, favored at 3-5. Lakeway 13, Forested the longest shot on the board. Barada Slew at 11, Serena Song second choice, 5-2. Mariah Storm 7-1. Golden Claire and Top Rung are long shots. And the track here at Belmont Park has just been changed, officially listed as muddy now, a downgrading a bit of the track condition, but certainly we've seen in the times of the first two races very fast.
Right. Every time they bring the tractors around, they do harrow the racetrack, but they still have the floats on behind the harrows, and what it does is it compresses the racetrack and makes it very, very fast.
Well, you hear the call to the post now as the horses make their way from the paddock onto the track for the Breeders' Cup Distaff. This race at 1 1/8 miles. 4 horses have won in their 3rd Breeders' Cup try after losing their first 2. That would be the case for Heavenly Prize, hoping the 3rd time is the charm. And what about Serena Song? She rarely runs a bad race, but the times that she has and people tend to count her out, she comes right back with a great run. It's happened several times, and she is the second choice in the betting here today. Breeders' Cup Distaff is sponsored by Alberto VO5, and here are the horses. One is inside information, speed at the rail for 4-time Breeders' Cup winner Mike Smith. Only 1 loss in 7 starts this year. She won Keeneland Spinster Stakes her last start, and that's a prep used by 6 previous Distaff winners. 1A Heavenly Prize, the leading older filly and mare of the year. Second in the Distaff last year when she was champion 3-year-old filly. 4 wins in 6 starts this year. Couldn't quite catch Serena Song here in the Beldame when she raced on Lasix for the first time. That anti-bleeding medication now legal in New York. Number 2 is Lakeway, one of the top 2-year-old fillies of '94. She nearly died of pneumonia, away from the races a year exactly, and hasn't flashed her old form in her 3 races since then. 3 horses Venista. This is the Cigar team, owner, trainer, and jockey. She moves up in the mud. Her only race against Heavenly Prize, though, she was beaten by 14 lengths. The 4 horses Forested. Robert Perez, known for bringing horses in from Panama to race here. Forested raced there at 2, but this year she's been beaten 3 times by Serena Song. 5 is Barada Slew, a daughter of Seattle Slew, trained by Eduardo Inda, Ron McAnally assistant for 20 years. She's won her last 4. She'll be close to the early pace. 6 is Serena Song. She'll be the champion 3-year-old filly, but Lucas says she's the best horse in America. She's won up to 1.25 miles. She's beaten males and older fillies and mares at tracks all over the country. 7 is Mariah Storm. Remember the old song, They Call the Wind Mariah? Von Monroe, I think. Well, that's the inspiration for this filly's name. She's come back from a leg fracture at 2. She ran up a storm to beat Serena Song at Turfway Park, but then was 3rd in the Spinster. Number 8, Golden Claire, California-based filly, ridden by Corey Nakatani, leading jockey in America this year. His father, Roy, a Japanese-American, spent time at Santa Anita when it was a relocation camp during World War II. Golden Claire is 0 for 3 this year. 9 is Top Rung, trained by 79-year-old Willard Proctor, who has been on the track since the 30s. His son Tom actually saddled her today, and Tom, you'll remember, trained the upset winner of last year's Distaff, One Dreamer. Like last year, Leonard Lavin, chairman of Alberto Culver, faces the exciting prospect of awarding the trophy to himself. So the horses will jog off for their warm-up in preparation for the Distaff. Shug McGahee, with 2 formidable entries, feels as much pressure as anyone here, but a welcome burden for Shug McGahee. The Phipps Stable, where today Shug McGahee must balance the expectations of 2 owners, father and son, and the individual needs of their talented fillies, running for the first time in the same race.
Not prejudiced to either one of them. We just hope that both of them will go over there and run really well. Best scenario would be finish 1-2. Whether that happens or not, who knows?
The only sure thing is that a friendly family rivalry is brewing between Ogden Phipps and son Denny.
They might be a little competitive with each other, but I think that they sort of feel the same way, that the father hopes that he doesn't win it, the son wins it, and I think that Denny feels like that if I don't win it, I hope Heavenly Prize does, and they'll both be happy however the outcome.
But how could he not pull for champion Heavenly Prize, who has come so close in past Breeders' Cup races?
She's running the Breeders' Cup when she was 2, she was 3rd. She ran the Breeders' Cup when she was 3, she was 2nd. I think it's important that she has the best chance to win one of them, and I thought that her best chance to win was in the Distaff.
With Serena's song facing 2 Phipps fillies, Wayne Lukas is confident but wary.
Well, it's the country girl come to town. She's in the big city, and they're going to gang up on her. They're not going to give her anything here.
No matter which filly wins, Shug just hopes it's one of his.
Well, I'm not going to be rooting for either one of them. I'm just going to hope that they both run well and one of them good enough to win the race.
Shug thought so much of these fillies, he actually cross-entered them in the Classic, although finally electing to run both in the Distaff. First time they've run against each other. He says that Heavenly Prize handles the mud, but is not particularly fond of it. Let's go to our handicappers and see what they think of Shug's chances. I should point out, you guys are 0 for the day.
Thanks, Tom. We appreciate you pointing that out.
DeHaas ran 13th, and I mentioned DeHaas right here. His name is Paul Revere. I think Paul Revere's horse on the Midnight Ride would have beaten DeHaas here in that sprint.
My filly didn't handle the mud.
But you know, Mike, it is a point that that field in the sprint was strung out from here to the Whitestone Bridge. It tells me that a lot of these racehorses are not handling this track today.
I agree.
Keep that in mind as you're doing your handicapping throughout the day.
I agree. I think it's interesting to look at this race, though, the Distaff, how it's going to set up. I think that you're going to see a lot of pace. Definitely going to see Serena's song bolting right out of there. Gary Stevens going to send her from the rail. Inside information also has to go. Then you add Lakeway to that and Mariah Storm. I think it's going to be a pretty hot pace, and Heavenly Prize is going to be laying off of the pace. By the time they hit the half-mile pole, I think it'll be Inside Information and Serena's song. I think they'll be together. I think Lakeway and Mariah Storm will drop off, and I think you'll start to see Heavenly Prize making a move. When they get to the top of the stretch, now here's where the race gets interesting. Serena's song sprinted away last time out, opened up 3 lengths. With Inside Information in there today, I don't think she could do that, but if either one of the two sprints away from the other, they could be very tough. Heavenly Prize, you see her coming up on the outside under Pat Day. She's going to be in perfect position. I think by the time they get to the wire, it's going to be Heavenly Prize running down the early speed, Bob.
No doubt. We speak with one voice with this one. Heavenly Prize, one of my 2 best bets on the day-to-day, no question. This race will be so much different than that Bell Dame we saw here on preview day when Serena's song was allowed to dawdle to a nice, comfortable, easy lead. There are more elements in this race today, as you pointed out, Inside Information, Mariah's Storm, and so it should set up for the fast-closing member of the Phipps stable again here.
We're confident about this one, Tom. Back to you.
All right, as much as it pains me, I have to agree with you. I like a Heavenly Prize coming from off the pace. And, of course, our race caller, Tom Durkin, very familiar with these fillies. What do you think, Tom?
Well, I think the key is going to be on the far turn. Serena's song is a front runner, but she likes to do her best running midway around the far turn. That's when she has to separate herself from the rest of the field. So the real confrontation will be on the far turn. So I think we're just about ready to get going here.
All right, Greg McCarron, anything going on untoward at the starting gate that you can see? Apparently not. Let's go back to Tom for the call.
And the final horses moving into line here. Barota Slew and Heavenly Prize. The Phipps fillies, 4 to 5 favorites here.
1-0
in the Distaff. Top run moving in. Ready for the start.
Everybody relax a second. Everybody relax a second. Tell me what you said. Good time.
And they're off. Serena's song comes out in stride right to the front. Lakeway's going to run with her, and so is Mariah Storm. Top Rung is there on the far outside, so the scramble is on early. Here comes Lakeway, and Lakeway grabs the lead. Serena's Song will run second today. Mariah Storm is right up there. It's 2 lengths back. Inside Information lets the other 3 do battle. Baroda Slew is running in 5th. Venista 6th and pushed along to stay within 5 lengths of the lead. Then it's Top Rung trying to take hold of the track. 6 lengths back to Longshot Forested. Then farther back, Heavenly Prize, who just settles in now, and she's already 15 lengths out of it. Golden Claire is the trailer. Up the backstretch, a contested opening quarter of 23 seconds flat. And Inside Information has come through to take the lead. 5 furlongs out. It's Inside Information in front. Mike Smith nudging her along to get 3/4 of a length ahead of Lakeway. Serena's Song now back running in 3rd with a half-mile to go. Mariah Storm is toiling now, dropping off the pace 4th. Baroda Slew is 5th on the inside. She's called on for more run. Then it's Venista, followed by Forested. Top Rung. Heavenly Prize has a lot to do, and only 3 furlongs to do it. She's 15 lengths behind her stablemate. It is Inside Information who turns for home, cruising on a 2.5 length lead. Lakeway's in a full-out drive, but gaining no ground. And Serena's Song struggling back in 3rd. It's a big break back to the rest of the field. Inside Information turning it into a runaway. Mike Smith asked her for a run, and in an instant, the response was devastating. Inside Information. Oh, look at this! A colossal victory! And Heavenly Prize, her stablemate, will be second. Inside Information won by a dozen lengths. Heavenly Prize came on to be second, and Lakeway was 3rd. Oh, my! As Dick Edberg would say, what a performance this afternoon by Inside Information.
I think Dick will let you borrow that. Inside Information. 12 lengths the winner. Yes, Shug did win. Inside Information got the money. And what about the indicator race, the Spinster Stakes at Keeneland? That's 7 of 12 that have prepped in the Spinster to win the Breeders' Cup Distaff. And the sun makes an appearance, and the crowd cheers as you see. Inside Information, Mike Smith sneaking a peek back under his arm, and nobody is there. Inside Information, Phipps bred, private account daughter, a 4-year-old, gives Shug McGahee a victory in the Distaff. Let's go to Greg McCarron with Mike Smith.
Yep, Tom, I've got Mike here. Mike, everybody thought she had a chance, but she just devastated this field.
Well, if that won Eclipse Award performance there, I don't know what is, Greg.
Okay, congratulations. Tom?
Inside Information, the pot of gold is on the backstretch at Belmont Park.
The 12th running of the Breeders' Cup is brought to you by Buick, makers of the concept car you can drive, the 1995 Riviera. By Coast Deodorant Soap, that bold scent and big lather make Coast the eye-opener. By Tagamet HB, the most prescribed medication of its kind is now for heartburn. And by United Artists Goldeneye, Bond is back this November.
Welcome back to Belmont Park. Inside Information, a 12-length win in the Distaff as the McGahee Phipps entry runs 1-2. The entry paying $360, $320, $220. Lakeway held on for 3rd. A $34.20 exacta, a trifecta, $1,114. For Serena's Song, it was a disappointing run. She hasn't had many this year, but this was one. Obviously not getting the best hold of the track. Didn't flash her usual speed. Close up early. But you see Heavenly Prize blowing by her on the rail there to get up for second as Serena's Song comes home. Bob and Beverly Lewis with Wayne Lucas, disappointed no doubt, but as you see the body language of Wayne Lucas, she had a great year and she will be champion 3-year-old filly. Let's go to Trevor Denman. He is with Gary Stevens.
Down here with Gary Stevens. Gary, they were going very fast early. You just took back off those first 2. Looked like you were going pretty comfortable to the half-mile pole. What happened after that?
Well, I was going very comfortable. The problem was the winner, Heavenly Prize, she was going just as easy as our Inside Information was doing things easier than what my filly was. She was relishing the off-going, and I started squeezing my filly at the 3/8 pole for a little more, and just wasn't there, and the winner was just incredible today, so you got to give her a lot of credit.
She felt good on the way to the gate, Serena's song. She was herself today?
Yeah, she warmed up herself. She left the gate running. I elected to sit just off of the 2 leaders, and my filly was very comfortable, and I was confident going into the turn, but when I called on her, she gave me what she had, and the other filly just galloped away from me. So just a case of not being good enough on a given day.
And on these kind of tracks, if the horses take to it, they really take to it like the winner did today, and there's just no beating them. You could run that race 100 times, you still weren't going to catch her.
Absolutely. This filly, she won here on an off track a couple races back, and won by about 16 lengths that day on the same type of racetrack. So she's definitely a good mud-loving filly.
Thanks, Gary. Good luck the rest of the day.
Thanks.
Tom?
All right, Trevor, inside information, giving Shug McGahee his 7th overall Breeders' Cup win. In fact, he's the 4th trainer to win 2 on 1 Breeders' Cup card. As you see, the official order of finish, Mariah Storm, a disappointing 9th. Let's go down to Mike Battaglia.
Thanks, Tom. And in the winner's circle with winning owner, Denny Phipps trainer Shug McGahee, to make the presentation, Cheryl O'Leary, Director of National Accounts, the Alberto Culver Company. Cheryl?
On behalf of the winners who make and market Alberto VO5 and the fine consumer and professional products of Alberto Culver, we're delighted to salute you on your victory here today in the Distaff Inside Information. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Mr. Phipps, this horse just ran a huge race. Got to give Shug and Mike Smith, even though Mike's got a black eye over there from playing racquetball, you got to give them a lot of credit for this one.
Mike rode her wonderfully, as he has all year, and Shug trained her up to the biggest race in a wonderful way.
Shug both fillies. They ran 1-2. They're both exceptional. Did you expect anything like this from Inside Information?
Well, I knew she had it in it, Mike. She loves this racetrack. She loves the mud. You know, we were a little concerned about her race in the Spinster, where she just was able to win, but I thought she had an excuse that day. She trained great, especially from Sunday till today, and, you know, I'm not surprised, no.
And, Mike, I heard you talking Eclipse Awards.
Oh, that's an Eclipse Award-winning performance right there.
All right, thank you. Back to you, Tom.
All right, Mike, not the best picture Mike Smith ever took with a shiner from playing racquetball, but he won't mind as he records his 5th Breeders' Cup win. So, inside information by 12, but what about the furious closing run by Heavenly Prize? Tom Durkin, she came from nowhere to get 2nd.
And finished nowhere, actually, when you think of it in terms of her getting beaten by a dozen lengths. What a spectacular effort by Inside Information today. Let's take a look at the replay here. Here's Heavenly Prize, the horse in the Phipps colors down on the inside. And Pat Day, you know, doing what he usually does, going by some very good horses. Serena's Song, a champion. She will be the 3-year-old filly champion this year. She comes right by Lakeway, but nowhere close to the spectacular effort of her stablemate this afternoon. Inside Information. That's a very good horse finishing under the wire, 12 lengths behind a special horse.
And Inside Information was special today and is unbeaten in the mud. Well, don't forget, coming up later, we will have the big race of the day, America's richest, the $3 million Breeders' Cup Classic, Cigars Run for Greatness. Here are the morning line odds for the classic final Breeders' Cup race of the day. French Deputy at 15, unaccounted for at 6-1. Many like him moving up on an off track. Hauling from Europe, 8-race winning streak at 6-1. Peaks and Valleys, the 3-year-old at 12. So is Tinner's Way. And there is Cigar opening on the morning line at 3-5. The only morning line odds that were less were a 1-2 shot, I think, way back. And certainly Cigar, by the time the mutual windows close, probably will be less than that. Next up, though, will be the Breeders' Cup Mile. This will be our first race on the grass. And who will handle the soft turf better? Will it be the U.S. runners or perhaps those from Europe who probably have a little more experience in the soft going than do the Americans? The morning line for the mile is this: Poplar Bluff at 12, Ridgeward Pearl at 4-1, Soviet Line 12, the Vid at 8, Dove Hunt at 6-1 with Cherokee Rose the same, Shanxi at 12-1 from Europe. Mighty Forum should like the soft going 12-1. Sayadati 8-1. Harayir a scratch. Fastness getting a lot of support from the odds maker at 9-2. And 3 horses in the mutual field all at 15-1. 4 Stars All-Star, Savinio, and Earl of Barking. That's our next race. Who will be able to handle that soft turf course as the light rain continues to fall? 20 minutes away from the Breeders' Cup Sprint at Belmont Park. MetLife blimp Snoopy 1 cruising the skies above Belmont Park, giving us the soggy view of the action. MetLife blimp traveling over 60,000 miles a year to cover sporting events and television specials across the United States. Well, we'll move on to the grass course for the first time today, and we expect it to be quite soggy. 3 weeks ago, we were here at Breeders' Cup Preview Day. We saw the Turf Classic and the Kelso on the grass that day, and it was just like a bog, I think Tom Durkin called it. Very soft conditions. What will they be like today with all the rain we've had?
They'll be very similar or even a little bit softer, Tom. We had a tremendous amount of rain. I think, as you said earlier in the program, about 4 inches last night. And I mean, the going is going to be very, very soft. The only difference is that we don't have the outer rail up, and by that I mean to save the course, to have it absolutely perfect today, we've had an outer rail that saved about the first 12 feet of the inside of the turf course. Now that might be the place to be. Nobody's been running on it since before August, and certainly it is the very best going, and certainly if speed can get there, they might be very effective.
And they've been conserving the Widener turf course. All the grass races in recent days at Belmont have been on the inner turf course, right?
Right. We've done that almost all fall. Ever since we got back from Saratoga in August, we've used the outer course, the Widener course, very sparingly. So it's in very good shape. They've let the grass grow a little bit longer, which might compensate for a little bit of the soft ground. But I think the favor goes here to the Europeans. They certainly have more experience on this type of going. Also, what we call yielding, they don't even consider soft. They have a very, very, they're very used, as I should say, to running on very soft going, particularly in this early spring and the late fall.
All right, well, the horses for the mile are arriving in the paddock, and so is Trevor Denman. Let's check in with him.
Well, the two that really catch the eye down here, Tom, would be Poplar Bluff coming in from France. He's won his last two at Longchamp over there, and he's just so relaxed out there. He's as calm as can be. He's just standing around like it's just a quiet day in his paddock. He certainly doesn't feel like it's Breeders' Cup Day. Big thing is he's conserving his energy, and he looks like he's going to run a real huge race this afternoon. He's got a French rider riding for the first time in the United States. That could be a problem. The guy's got to try to stay off the rail. In France, they love to hug the rail. Here at Belmont Park, I think you need to get off that rail and make sure that you have clear sailing. But if he does get a good run today, Poplar Bluff certainly looks outstanding while he's being saddled. I love them when they're nice and relaxed like this, going a mile. If they were sprinters, obviously it would be a different story. And the other one is the Grey Fastness. Janine Sahadi just done a magnificent job with this guy. He is ready to run today. Whether Fastness handles the off-track, who knows? Nobody knows. He is the only one who knows that. It's the horse himself. But if Fastness handles the track today, we can almost guarantee he'll be in the first three. He's going to run huge. So looks-wise, from the paddock, I would say either Poplar Bluff or Fastness.
All right, Trevor, as we take a look at the current odds for the turf, Ridgewood Pearl getting a lot of attention. Ridgewood Pearl, one of the European invaders, at 3-1. The Vid is 5-1. Cherokee Rose from Europe is a 4-1 shot. As we see Mighty Forum at 11. Fastness, a horse you mentioned, at 10-1. And the field at 11-1 currently. So if you want a price, you can get one here in the mile. The fans having trouble deciding on a clear favorite. Right now, the lukewarm choice is Ridgewood Pearl for the 1 mile on turf. We're back at Belmont Park awaiting the Breeders' Cup Mile, a check of the current odds, and we see that the first two choices are fillies. Not that unusual. 3 winners of the mile have been Distaffers. Ridgewood Pearl at 3-1 is a 3-year-old filly, and the second choice, Cherokee Rose, also is a filly, a 4-year-old in this case. And again, you continue to be able to get a price if you want one, and our guys need one. They haven't picked a winner yet. They need a long shot to catch up.
Now wait a minute. Now wait a minute, Tom. We had that entry. If you bet one, you get them both.
We backed in.
That's
we
right.
backed in.
We backed in, but we got a winner.
An entry is an entry.
That's right. If you bet one, you get them both.
Get paid.
Yes.
We got paid.
Yes, we got paid.
End of story.
End of story. All right, in this race now, you know what I see? A lack of pace in here. I
agree with
really
you.
do. I mean, the last race, the Kelso that they ran in, Mighty Forum got up to win, but there was a lot more speed. I think I'm going to have to go for a horse in here to finish second in the Kelso, and I'm talking about Fastness. Trevor already looked at him in the paddock, told me he looked at that, bolsters my confidence in this horse, and as I said, it will be a moderate pace. I think even with the outside post, he can be close to the lead. He's lightly raced this year. He's only had 3 races. that makes me think that he is ready to improve. I think that he'll move forward off those 3 races. I think that he'll move forward off his race in the Kelso. I think he's going to be a handful. Right now, the horse that beat him in the Kelso is another big price, Mighty Forum. He's 12-1, and a horse I like a little bit, the Vid, is 5-1. I'm looking for a 3-horse exacta box, although I'm still going to pick Fastest, but use him with the Vid and Mighty Forum, and you're going to go for some European horse, I think.
How'd you guess?
I just thought you might.
Your horse has the 14-post Fastness. That's going to be tough to overcome. Again, I do like the European horses, and this is a nice girls versus the boys kind of race. We've seen fillies win this race before at a mile. Of course, the fabulous Miesk won it. Royal Heroine won it, a filly. But Ridgewood Pearl is the choice here for a couple of very important reasons. First and foremost, quite obvious, the top miler in Europe. She won 3 Grade 1 mile events across the seas this year. And as we spoke about the lack of hot pace in this race, she figures to sit on or near the lead certainly should benefit from a slow pace. But again, soft, boggy conditions. This field will be well strung out as they make their way down the backside, and it's really anybody's guess in a wide open mile event.
It's tough to tell who's going to handle it, but I'm still sticking with the Americans. And you got some time right now. Go to the windows, 3-horse exacta box, 4, 8, 11, and you cash.
I'm following you.
All right.
Okay.
Back to you, Tom.
I don't know how many they picked. It's hard to separate them. They're desperate now to get a winner. They picked so many horses. But unfortunately, I do agree with Newmeyer. I like the 3-year-old filly Ridgewood Pearl, one of the European horses, and the lukewarm 3-1 favorite at the moment. Who do you like?
Well, I kind of agree with you, Tom. I think that these European horses, I said before, really have the advantage. And as I was this morning talking to a friend of mine from Ireland, and he said, rain, he said, my God, he said, in Ireland, this would be just a heavy dew on the ground. You know, so seriously, they can stand a lot of cut to the ground, a lot of softness, and I think our American horses will be certainly at a disadvantage.
Cherokee Rose has been primarily a sprinter in Europe, a 6 furlongs, occasionally stretching out to 7, but the Europeans seem to think that in America they can stretch a sprinter to a mile.
Well, they certainly can, mainly because of, particularly on this course. This is a very, very forgiving course for European horses. Most of the places that we run here in America have very sharp turns, and certainly a horse coming from off the pace or trying to carry their speed over a distance of ground might not be at an advantage, but here the gradual sloping turns certainly lend themselves to any horse in any style.
Starting the exodus from the paddock as the horses make their way to the track for the mile. Number 1, Poplar Bluff, 78-year-old Paris art dealer Daniel Wildenstein brings this 3-year-old from France, where he's won 3 of his last 4 for leading trainer Andre Fabre. The 2-horse we've been talking about, Ridgewood Pearl, Irish owned and trained, 3-year-old filly. She prefers the soft turf and earlier won the classic Irish 1,000 Guineas. She's 3 of 4 at a mile on the grass and has beaten colts. 3 is Soviet Lion, owned by Sheikh Maktoum, the ruler of Dubai, one of the brothers that dominate European racing. Has a single win this year, though it was a Group 1 race in England. Number 4 is the Vid, named for one of Joe Sullivan's racetrack pals from Chicago and trained by Florida-based Marty Wolfson. He's been away from the races since late August. The 5 is Dove Hunt, owned by Will Farish, Eclipse Award-winning owner and breeder. Pat Day, the Breeders' Cup leading rider aboard. This horse has won 5 of his last 7. Didn't like the extreme soft going, though, here in the Kelso. 6 is Cherokee Rose, owned by Sheikh Mohammed, defense minister of Dubai. American Cash Asmussen, several-time leading rider in France, looking for his first Breeders' Cup victory. Primarily a sprinter, this horse 0 for 2 at a mile. The 7-horse is Shanji. Owner Terry Yoshida operates the biggest stud farm in Japan, Shadai. Sunday Silence stands there. This 3-year-old filly, based in France, has beaten the boys on soft turf. 8 is Mighty Forum, Team Valor, the partnership of Barry Irwin and Jeff Siegel. Ran his best race ever, coming from way back to win the Kelso on the swamp that was the Belmont Turf that day. 9, Sayadati, 5-year-old mare, making her final start, trained by Clive Britton, who won the 85 Turf with Pebbles. She has only 1 win this season, but has raced successfully in England, France, Japan, and the U.S. Number 10, Harrier, scratched. Number 11, Fastness. Trainer Janine Sahadi finished 4th in the mile last year with Megan's Interco. Fastness 2nd in the Kelso on soft turf here at Belmont, his only U.S. race on a soft turf course. 3 horses in the field. Number 12, 4 Stars All-Star. Final race for the 7-year-old who retires to Coolmore Stud in Ireland, which is fitting. He's the only non-European horse to ever win the Irish 2,000 Guineas. 13, Savinio. Gary Bazance picked this horse out in France, bought him for $100,000. Won only once this year, has not been out since July 4th. And 14, Earl of Barking, ridden by Frankie Dettori on his way to a 2nd consecutive English riding title. This horse barked loud and long with a wind over Sandpit in the Hollywood Turf Handicap. Field of 13 for the Breeders' Cup Mile. We'll put them over on the grass horse when we return to Belmont. Mighty Forum, the 8-horse under Eddie Delahousie, warming up, hoping to duplicate his steal of the Kelso here on Breeders' Cup Preview Day 3 weeks ago. Notice that the horses warm up on the dirt course before switching over to the turf to enter the starting gate. Check of the odds. Ridgewood Pearl still the favorite, down to 5-2 now. The Vid at 6-1. Cherokee Rose is second choice, 4.5-1. Mighty Forum, a 15-1 shot. Fastness at 7-1 from that outside post. And the field, 3 horses, all at 10-1. You get 3 for the price of 1 in the mutual field. Well, we said that this Belmont turf course a little more forgiving than some of those in America for the Europeans. They don't have to negotiate those extremely sharp turns. And John Veach, something else for the Europeans that will be different today. The action around the starting gate as they go in.
Right, Tom, there's a very big difference in Europe. Our assistant starters, the handlers that load the horses, will stay in the stalls with some of the horses as they to stop them from acting up. In Europe, they cannot do that. Also, the way our gate is built, the front doors do not allow a man to duck underneath to come out, so they must climb over the back of a horse to get out of the starting gate to clear themselves before the start. Now, in Europe, those horses aren't used to that, and it can be quite a frightening thing. Also, when a man is handling a horse right before the start, if you're not used to it, the horse on the inside might well shy away from it and bump another horse. So they required all the European horses for the first time this year to stand at the gate, to school themselves, and to get acclimated to the American ways, which has been a very good thing and been very beneficial, as we've seen already.
And we'll watch them then as they approach the gate. Bob Moomeyer, you have a comment before the start of the race?
Well, bloodlines also work with people as well. This is number 4, the Vid, trained by Marty Wolfson. He's the son of Lewis Wolfson, and racing fans know that Lewis Wolfson is synonymous with Harborview Farm, and Harborview Farm is synonymous with a number of great champions over the years, including the great Affirmed, who won the Triple Crown right here at Belmont Park. This horse has a shot. He's had some tough luck this year, a nice third in the Arlington Million, hasn't raced since then, but I know that Mr. Wolfson would love to see son Marty Wolfson pull us off today with the Vid.
There is the Vid with Jerry Bailey at 6-1 at the moment. Rain starting to fall again. 6-mile starters have won Eclipse Awards at the end of the particular season, and you see the horses starting to load in now. Ridgewood Pearl, the favorite, the jockey John Murtaugh. And as we said, the turns a little forgiving at Belmont Park. The grass course has been conserved, but is still a bit soggy. The Europeans figure to be a real factor here. The 2 favorites are from Europe. Royal Heroine, a European invader, set the record for the Breeders' Cup Mile. The course record at Belmont Park held by expensive decision, set in 1990. Doesn't seem to be much of a problem as they load Europeans and Americans into the starting gate. Ridgewood Pearl still at 5-2 as you see a Mighty Forum, the 8-horse, go in. And we're ready to go upstairs to Tom Durkin for the call of the $1 million Breeders' Cup Mile.
Final horses moving into line here for this $1 million mile. 4 Stars All-Star. His 3rd attempt in the Breeders' Cup, and on the outside, Fastness. In line, ready to go in the mile. And they're off. Fastness broke sharply on the outside. Sayadati was off slowly. 4 Stars All-Star sent to the lead immediately. 4 Stars All-Star now makes the lead. Poplar Bluff, good early speed, an inside post, and he comes on through the inside to run second. Fastness up close and hard held third. Dove Hunt in and among horses 4th. Ridgewood Pearl headstrong now, moving to 4th on the inside. Dove Hunt racing in 5th. Savinio is 6th on the outside. The Vid is running in 7th. Earl of Barking is 8th. Cherokee Rose in between horses running in 9th with Shanxi in between horses 10th. Then Soviet Line caught in traffic. Sayadati is well behind in the early going, better than 10 lengths from the front. Stretch running, Mighty Forum trails the field. The opening quarter over this boggy going went in 24 3/5 seconds, and Poplar Bluff has taken over now from 4 Stars All-Star. Poplar Bluff moving comfortably on the lead in front by a neck. 4 Stars All-Star right there to keep him company. On the outside, Fastness in perfect striking position third. Fastness now revving up to join the leaders on the outside. Ridgewood Pearl right there, the English filly, looms boldly just in behind the lead. Savinio in with the chance, only 2.5 lengths from the front. Dove Hunt 5 lengths from the lead as they near the top of the stretch. Then Earl of Barking, Sayadati on the outside, followed by Shanxi. Fastness takes the lead as the field turns for home, but Ridgewood Pearl is switched out for running room, and here comes the big English filly. They're coming down toward the final furlong. Fastness down inside, and Ridgewood Pearl put to a full-out drive. A bitter struggle past the 8th pole, and now the whip is out on Fastness. On the outside, Ridgewood Pearl giving their all, and Ridgewood Pearl lengthening her long and powerful strides to go on to a victory here. She's a 2-length winner over Fastness. It was 5 lengths back to a photo for show among Dove Hunt, Savinio, and Sayadati. This was the perfect trip. A perfect European trip. Ridgewood Pearl covered up in behind horses, showed her daylight at the top of the stretch, and she went on to victory under John Murtaugh.
On the very best part of the course.
Ridgewood Pearl. She was covered up early, Tom Durkin, but John Murtaugh, the jockey, had a handful of horse. It was all he could do to restrain her. He finally took her outside at the head of the lane and got a real battle from Fastness. Gary Stevens hitting Fastness left-handed, waited till late to get out the whip. Ridgewood Pearl has been under a steady drive for a furlong, and John Murtaugh, with his stick in the left hand, manages to get to the front, and Ridgewood Pearl becomes the 4th filly to win the Breeders' Cup Mile. Janine Sahadi, the trainer of Fastness, saw her horse battling tooth and nail through the stretch, looking for her first Breeders' Cup win, and then in the final stride saw Ridgewood Pearl draw away in a victory. Greg McCarron, can you talk to John Murtaugh for us?
Yes, I will. John, congratulations. You told me just a little while ago that she seemed to love this soft going.
Yes, it's very heavy. Today she's won on the Cora in the soft, and it's unbelievable to win here today.
I'm glad to see that big old smile. Congratulations once again. Back to you, Tom.
Thank you.
All right, Greg. Ridgewood Pearl, an Indian Ridge 3-year-old filly, British bred and owned by Ann Coughlin, trained by John Ox, ridden to victory by John Murtaugh, the first Breeders' Cup win for all the connections of this brilliant 3-year-old filly. Ridgewood Pearl, her fondness for soft turf well known, and a winning run today in the Breeders' Cup Mile for John Murtaugh. And the flag of Ireland waved for the connections of Ridgewood Pearl. Let's go to Mike Battaglia.
Okay, thanks, Tom. And with Gary Stevens. And Gary, you rode Fastness. The horse ran his heart out, just couldn't handle the filly in the last 70 yards.
Well, he couldn't handle the ground either. I'll tell you what, he ran a tremendous race for a horse that doesn't handle soft going. He just cantered around the racetrack the whole way, and he's usually got a great finish, a great kick. And these horses, they didn't quicken up at all through the stretch. We just stayed steady, and we were walking home the last 1/8 of a mile, and that just goes to show you how deep and tiring this turf is. No one was getting to us, and the time they ran a mile in 1:43 and change is just very, very slow and tiring. But got to take my hat off to Janine Sahadi for the job she did with this horse and the way he ran today.
Well, all right, thanks a lot. Over to Bob Newmeyer.
Well, Mike, Gary tips his cap to the aforementioned Janine Sahadi, and she joins me here. And Party, I know Janine is thrilled with how big the horse ran, but I know that Party is disappointed about not taking home the whole ball of wax here in this mile.
Oh, sure. I mean, I had high expectations going into this race, and I got beat, but I'm very proud of my horse, and it was fun. I had a good time.
You had a couple of things working against you, not the least of which was a disastrous post position that I know you hated when it was announced, but Gary was able to break the horse and establish a nice spot down the backstretch.
Yeah, you can pretty much place this horse where you want. He's better when he has some cover, but he broke well today. And, you know, I just wish it hadn't rained, and I wish I didn't have the post, but I had them, and I couldn't do anything about them. So I'm just real proud of him, and we'll go home and regroup and see where to go from here.
Janine Sahadi, a tough luck second with fastness here in the mile, Tom.
A game second indeed, but meanwhile, a pint of Guinness all round for the Irish-owned and trained Ridgewood Pearl, paying $7.10, $4.43, $60, fastness $6.24, $60. Sayadati took the photo for third, paid $7, the exacta $47.60. So Ridgewood Pearl's name will go into the record books as the fourth filly to win the mile. Dove Hunt managed fourth. Savinio was fifth. 4 Stars All-Stars last career race, winding up 7th off to Ireland to Standard Stud. Cherokee Rose, second choice in the betting, wound up 8th. Mighty Forum 9th, couldn't duplicate his feat here at Belmont from earlier. The Vid beat one horse in Poplar Bluff, who Trevor thought looked so good in the paddock, finished last. And there's and the fans of Belmont responding. Tis a great time. Seeing the filly Ridgewood Pearl win, your mind just for a moment drifts back to 1990 and one of the sad moments as opposed to this joyous moment when the ill-fated Gopher Wand ran here at Belmont Park. One of the most excruciating moments I've seen in racing, and you couldn't let the day go by today without remembering the gallant Gopher Wand as we return with the Breeders' Cup to Belmont Park. Let's go to Trevor Denman.
Thanks, Tom. Well, the winning move here had to be made by jockey John Murtaugh. That horse was just pulling him out of the irons early on. You can see him right here at the rail, but earlier on even, he was really tugging away. That's Gary Stevens on the outside with fastness, and here's the winning move by John Murtaugh. He's almost going to climb on these horses' heels in front. That's Poplar Bluff, the leader, down at the rail, and 4 Stars All-Star. There's Gary Stevens getting the perfect trick, but John Murtaugh right there, fourth at the rail, just keeping his cool. He knows he's got a ton of horse. He must be thinking, if I get out of here, I've won my first Breeders' Cup race, because that horse is absolutely loping along. Does the smart thing, as we were saying before the race, get off the rail here at Belmont. He does it absolutely perfectly. The guy on the outside, Chris McCarron on Savinio, doesn't have enough horse to keep him in. And here's Ridgewood Pearl now allowed to stride. And look at her just stretch her neck out there of ultra game fastness down at the rail. But really a smart piece of riding combined with a nice bit of luck there. And Ridgewood Pearl going to stride on gamely here to beat fastness. Really a terrific run from a filly. But let's remember, fastness was giving her 7 pounds. Tom?
All right, Trevor, and Ridgewood Pearl heading back to the stable with the Breeders' Cup Mile title safely in the bag. Let's go to Marianne if she can get into the celebration there among all the Irishmen.
We've got some happy Irishmen down here, don't we? Woo! Yeah! And here to present the trophy is John Nayrood. And the last time Mr. Nayrood stood in the Breeders' Cup Circle was 1985. You were here accepting the trophy on behalf of Cosine, who won the mile. So, Mr. Nayrood, please make the presentation to Anne and Sean Coughlin of County Kildare Island. And here, in between here, is the trainer, John Ox. Go ahead.
It's a great pleasure I present you this trophy. Be careful, it's very heavy. You people are to be congratulated for bringing your filly all this way to run in the race. We're very pleased that you win it.
Thank you very much. It was a heck of a stretch run with stretch battle with fastness. Did you think you could do it?
Yes, but I thought you'd do it.
You race under the papal colors, yellow and white. You're devout.
Yes.
You saw the rainbow. Did you think it was a sign today?
It's a friend of ours, my niece's husband, said that's a very lucky thing, the rainbow.
Indeed it was.
Yes.
All right, congratulations, Tom Hammond. Back up to you.
Thanks very much.
Aaron Gobra, Ridgewood Pearl, and John Murtaugh. Welcome back to Belmont Park as you take a look from the backside at the grandstand here. Tom Durkin assures me that laid on its end, it would be almost as tall as the Empire State Building, not far away in downtown Manhattan. Belmont Park has seen so many great things. John, I can remember In the summers of my college years, I worked here on the back stretch. Your dad, of course, was based here, Hall of Fame trainer. You have, too. But I was here in the summers, and Cheryl Ward, the man I worked for, once told me that after Man of War ran here, he went to the track, looked at the stride, and notched in the inner rail where Man of War's stride has been. Belmont Park has a great history. Even before there was a track at Belmont Park, there was a tree. The white pine tree in Belmont's paddock, over 150 years old, has spanned 9 decades of New York racing. Belmont Park opened May 4th, 1905, 90 years ago. 40,000 New Yorkers came out to the races. The horses ran clockwise, and Thomas Edison shot the archive film. Over the decades, racing's greatest, including Man of War, the greatest ever, have come here to confirm their historical stature. Citation, thoroughbred racing's first millionaire, capped off his Triple Crown at Belmont in 1948. And Belmont honors those that run and run well here. A standout from another era, Secretariat, the best horse of the second half of the 20th century, finalized his legend with a stunning 31-length victory in the Belmont Stakes. Belmont Park, 90 years of the best in American racing. Belmont Park, founded in 1905, named for August Belmont I. His son, August Belmont II, had a horse, Blandy, that won the first race here, May 1905. 82,000 turned out in these stands to see Canyonero fail in his bid for the Triple Crown. But John Veach, one of the most interesting things about Belmont, I think, is the old Widener chute. It's gone now, but they used to have angling right down through the infield, a straight chute where they ran 2-year-olds up to 20 at a time, I guess.
24 was the maximum number they could run, and it was 6.5 furlongs, and it started at the very far end of the grounds here. Belmont Park, one of the biggest racetracks in America, certainly at 1.5 miles, the biggest racetrack itself. But they used to start from the very corner of the grounds to the northeast, or actually to the southeast, excuse me, and run straight through the center of the racetrack, 6.5 furlongs. The biggest race was the Belmont Futurity, which in those days was the premier 2-year-old race in the country.
Tom Durkin thinks he has it tough now. How would you like to call 24 2-year-olds coming right at you, as you called it from the grandstand race caller's booth? Well, of course, the highlight of the day is still to come. Cigar has a date with Destiny coming up later in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Today at historic Belmont Park, the world of thoroughbred racing gathers to honor its own, the 12th running of the Breeders' Cup. In the day's first race, the Juvenile Fillies, My Flag roared down the stretch, giving Jerry Bailey his 4th Breeders' Cup crown. In the always unpredictable sprint, the favorite again failed to win. Desert Stormer engineered the upset. There would be no homecoming in the winner's circle for jockey Robbie Davis, nor favor not surprising. In the Distaff, a joyous salute to Inside Information and her colossal 12-length win. Second victory for Shug McGahee and the Phipps family this day. The Europeans waited until the 4th race of the day to make their move. In the mile, Ridgewood Pearl outdueled the competition down the stretch. Janine Sahadi would have to wait for her first Breeders' Cup win. Again today, Belmont Park tests equine greatness. Will Cigar cap an undefeated season and earn his place among the racing fraternity's greatest stars? The Classic will be his test later today. And the men behind the Cigar hope their horse's implausible road to the top will come full circle today. And speaking of legends, there is one, the famous statue of Secretariat, dripping raindrops in the paddock here at Belmont Park. Coming up will be the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and here are our morning line odds. Appealing Skier at 6-1, Editor's Note and etc. are 8. Diligence is a 5-1 shot. Unbridled Song a generous 10-1. Blushing Jim is 15. O'Dial 20-1. Hennessy 4. Seacliff is 20. Honor and Glory 3-1 on the morning line. And in the field, Sampras and Secreto de Estado at 20-1. So the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, which of course has the $1 million purse and the prestige, often chooses the champion, but has a jinx. No Kentucky Derby winners. Do you find any correlation between the two facts?
Well, it's very difficult to say, Tom. We're certainly very much in the infancy of any series with the Breeders' Cup only being run the 11th time, where the Kentucky Derby is well over 100 times. It certainly is been, though, and gotten to be the most important two-year-old race of the year, and certainly the definitive race for the champion.
I know the time flies, John, but actually this is the 12th Breeders' Cup. Tom Durkin and I know it since we've been at each one of them so far.
I wasn't born then, Tom.
Oh, that's right. Well, of course, when you talk about two-year-olds, you can't ignore Wayne Lucas. And once again, he is involved in a two-year-old race with the favorites. He has 3 in this one. And, of course, Hennessy is an interesting story here because Hennessy was the leader pro tem in the two-year-old colt division until Maria's Mon beat him here. Now, Maria's Mon has since been sidelined for the year with an injury. So if Hennessy wins today, he could possibly claim the championship. If not, I think it'll go to Maria's Mon. Horse is making a turn of the paddock as you look at Hennessy being ridden for the first time today by Donna Barton. Gary Stevens electing to take Honor and Glory, one of the other Lucas trainees, and Donna Barton, who has been riding great guns in Kentucky for Wayne Lucas, has taken the mount on Hennessy with a chance to win her first Breeders' Cup race. As they make their way from the paddock to the track, we hear the call to the post, and here is the post parade. The Juvenile is sponsored by Buick, and the one horse is Appealing Skier, bred by Harry Mangurian, one of the former owners of the Boston Celtics, owned by Ebby Novak, whose company makes party supplies. 3 times this colt has run, 3 times they've had a party. In fact, he's never been headed. 2 horses, winter quarters. Bobby Frankel still looking for that Breeders' Cup win. Chris McCarron has 5 of them. First start on dirt for this colt, who has run in England, Germany, and France. 3 is Editor's Note, first of 3 Lucas horses. Jerry Bailey up. A closer, his best race in the Kentucky Cup Juvenile. He is 1 for 1 at Belmont and kicking up his heels a little bit in the post parade. 4 is Etc. Vern Winchell paid $625,000 for this colt. Full brother to On Target, who was 4th in last year's Juvenile. Another closer. He has only a maiden win. Number 5 is Diligence. There he is, owned and bred by the boss, George Steinbrenner, who misses this race due to the marriage of his son today. Nick Zito, by the way, was not fired after a second to Maria's Mon in the Champagne. In fact, it was a big race for Diligence. 6 horse Unbridled Song. Quite a story here. Owner Ernie Paragallo thought he had sold the colt to Japanese interests for $1.2 million, but the buyers weren't satisfied with the x-rays, so they returned him. The horse scratched 4 times, finally lived up to his hype with a great maiden win at Saratoga, then was a game 4th after setting the pace in the Champagne. 7 horse Blushing Jim, second Zito trained horse. This one owned by Paulson, ridden by Julie Crone. A long shot. It took him 5 races to win his first. 8 is O'Dial. His connections must think a lot of this alleged colt. He's the only maiden running in a Breeders' Cup race. He is 0 for 2. Number 9 is Hennessy, with Donna Barton up for the first time. She's broken all the records for female jockeys in Kentucky. Finished 6th in the Champagne after being the leader of the division, but could still earn an Eclipse Award by a big victory today. Number 10, Seacliff. Trainer Bill Kaplan returns to his native New York from his Florida base. He bought 25 tickets for family and friends today. Unbeaten and the richest horse in the race by virtue of a sweep in Calder's Florida Stallion Stakes. 11, Honor and Glory, the Thunder Gulch team here with Gary Stevens replacing Pat Day. Wire-to-wire winner in Keeneland's Breeders' Futurity, only race at 1 1/16. He is in the outside post. In the mutual field, Sampras, named for the tennis player and big and gangly like him, first start in the stakes race. And 13, Secreto de Estado, another Perez Panamanian import. He was 2 for 2 in Panama. That's the field for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. We'll return to Belmont Park for the $1 million race right after these messages.
The 12th running of the Breeders' Cup is brought to you by Mobil Motor Oil. At Mobil, we've been changing oil for over 125 years. By Owens Corning, makers of building materials that make the difference. By Alberto VO5 for great hair. VO5 does so much. And by Epson. For brilliant photo quality color printing, you've got to see it in Epson color. Buick, makers of the concept car you can drive, the 1995 Riviera.
A couple of minutes before post for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Let's recheck the odds. Appealing Skier 7 to 1, unbeaten, unheaded. Editor's Note a 12 to 1 shot. Diligence at 5, getting some support. Unbridled Song at 9 to 2. A real change money showing on Unbridled Song. 7 to 1, generous for Hennessy. Honor and Glory at 5 to 2. Let's see what our handicappers think.
Well, unlike the mile when there was very little early pace, we anticipate a very hot pace here in the juveniles.
We really do. It looks like it might be survival of the fittest. Whoever breaks out there in front and can hold off the rest of them, I think can win it. I think that can be Unbridled Song. I think he needed his race in the Moet Champagne. He's going to move forward. My pick is Unbridled Song. Look at him here in this stretch. He's turning for home right here. And this horse, after running some extremely fast fractions, he held on fairly well. He was inside the 8th pole. He was still head and head for the lead. I think that he has to move forward off of that race. I think he's going to be awfully tough today.
Well, I picked him in the preview show.
Yeah,
and
you picked him a race when he had no chance. He's got a good chance here today.
Well, I'm going to go for another speed horse, and I know Gary Stevens has had a disappointing day, but you know that old TV show, Father Knows Best? In this case, Gary knows best. Gary Stevens had his choice of mounts, editor's note, Hennessy, and he chose this one, Honor and Glory, to ride today. Plenty of speed here with this 2-year-old from the Lucas barn. Despite the fact that the inside posts have played very nicely today at Belmont Park, I still maintain that in a race with a lot of early speed, the outside is a nice place for a jockey to be. So Honor and Glory is the selection here, and we look for some very hot fractions in the early stages of this 2-year-old dash here at Belmont. Tom?
All right, Bob. Bob Newmeyer picking Ridgewood Pearl. So did Tom Hammond, by the way. And I'm going to differ with you guys here. I'm going to take Hennessy to bounce back and maybe claim an Eclipse Award. And, of course, the course description as Hennessy approaches the gate under Donna Barton is a mile and a 16th. And, again, at Belmont Park, that means a one-turn affair. Long run down the backside to get position for the turn. Then the run for home and the purse $1 million. There is a look at Hennessy. Stormcat Colt, owned by Robert and Beverly Lewis, the Serena Song team. And Donna Barton getting the riding assignment for the first time at 7 to 1. Course record, or the track record, for a mile and a 16th. Stakes record, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, held by Bracco, and the Belmont Park track record, again key contender, 39.92. Horses loading in the gate. Greg McCarron, anything wrong with the 2-year-olds? And Greg still can't hear us. Let's go to Tom Durkin for the call.
And final one to move into the starting gate will be Honor and Glory. They might think it's Mutter's Day here at Belmont with all the rain, because the Phillies have won all the races so far, but we know that a Colt is going to win this one. In the gate for the Juvenile. And they're off. Seacliff getting out first. Appealing Skier rushing up on the inside. Honor and Glory is good early speed. And in between horses, Hennessy is right there, and Blushing Jim out of the chute and up the back stretch. And it is Appealing Skier flashing his early speed now out to get the lead. Blushing Jim will put the pressure on now. Seacliff is 4 wide. Hennessy comes on through. He's now running 3rd. Seacliff is 4th. Honor and Glory just off the pace now. He's back running in 5th position. Unbridled Song is back racing in 6th. He's never been that far behind. O'Dial the Maiden is now 7th. Sampras down on the rail is 8th. Winter Quarters is 9th. Diligence is 10th today. And then farther back, Secreto de Estado And the two trailers are Editor's Note and Etc. Appealing Skier up the backstretch and a blitz through the first quarter in 22-2. Blushing Jim moving to his neck now. Hennessy is poised on the outside now. Hennessy revving up and seizes the lead at the half-mile pole. Hennessy short lead. Blushing Jim right there. On the outside, Seacliff draws into dramatic contention now. Appealing Skier is dropping out of it. Unbridled Song in traffic. Room at the inside for Sampras, who's coming on through. Honor and Glory will be spun out 5 or 6 wide. Winter Quarters in with a chance, but he'll need some running room. O'Dial down inside. Etc. nowhere to go. Wide open in the juveniles. The field turns for home. Unbridled Song taking the lead as the field turns for home. On the outside, Hennessy and those two will come down to the final furlong together. Hennessy in a pull-out drive. Unbridled Song giving his all toward the rail. Farther back, Honor and Glory is now running in third. Editor's Note is fourth. Unbridled Song and Hennessy in a duel down to the line. Unbridled Song, Hennessy, here's the wire. And it is Unbridled Song who wins by a head. A hard-fought head it was over Hennessy this afternoon in the juvenile. He usually goes right to the lead, not today. Off the pace, a brief but brilliant season for Unbridled Song.
Mike Smith with another victory, and $1.2 million looks like a bargain for this colt Unbridled Song. Remember the story? They thought they had sold him to Japanese interests $1.2 million. The Japanese turned him back, and Ernie Paragallo, the Paranex stable, is glad they did. On the inside, on the rail, Unbridled Song and Mike Smith. Donna Barton and Hennessy on the outside. Those two battling all the way down the lane. And in the final strides, Unbridled Song, an unbridled colt bred in Kentucky by Mandy's Land Farm, gets the victory. Let's go to Greg now with Mike Smith.
Thanks, Tom. Mike, 3 weeks ago when you were going in the gate, you told me you called this colt your little holy bull.
It's my holy bull, Junior, Greg, and he proved it again today, boy.
Today,
holy bull.
Today it looked like he got bumped a little bit leaving the gate. Was that why you're so far back?
Exactly, but, you know, it was only the second time out last time, and he kind of unwound on me. Since then, we've tried to teach him to gear down and come from a little off of it, and it's worked. They did a tremendous job with him, Greg.
It sure did work. Congratulations once again. Back to you, Tom.
All right, Greg, it's hard to keep up with him even now. Second win of the day for Mike Smith, his 10th overall. Unbridled Song in the juvenile. Mike Smith aboard Unbridled Song, who takes the money in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile and did it despite a rough start. Trevor Denman, give us a head-on view of the action out of the gate.
Well, it sure was. Here's Unbridled Song right here, going to come out of the number 6 stall, and just to his outside, number 7, Blushing Jim, is right in here. Now watch just after the start. You'll see Blushing Jim come over. Doesn't really collide hard. However, it does unsettle Unbridled Song. You can see right there, throws his head up a little. Mike Smith has to grab a hold of him. He drops in way behind the horses over there. So if he had lost by a head or a neck or even a half a length, there would have definitely been a justifiable excuse. And right now, Mike Smith is getting all that mud thrown in his face and wisely takes Unbridled Song to the extreme outside so that he can see where he's going. Mike Smith can see where he's going. That could have been a potentially dangerous thing there, but he overcomes it and goes on to win today's Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Outside, Donna Barton looking to make history here in the gold cap. She did everything possible, but of course Unbridled Song has now got through down there, and Unbridled Song takes a narrow lead. These two are just head and head throughout the stretch out here, and it could only be one winner on the afternoon. And tonight it was Unbridled Song on the inside who just outguns Hennessy. Donna Barton doing everything she can here to write her name into the history books. But of course Mike Smith has all that experience behind him. Win number 2 for him on the afternoon as he uses his brute strength here to push Unbridled Song to about a neck win over Hennessy. Bob?
Well, it's a very gracious Bob Lewis, the owner, congratulating Donna Barton on a great ride. And I know that, Mr. Lewis, you loved what she did on your horse, Hennessy, today.
I tell you, very much we loved it. Yes, Hennessy did us a great deal of pride, and Donna Barton just rode a magnificent race. We're so proud of her and so thrilled to have her on Hennessy today. It just worked beautifully.
Donna, Julie had a tough second with Mr. Greeley, and now you have a tough second on Hennessy. Tell us about the stretch drive and the duel with Unbridled Song and what you were thinking down the lane.
Well, when I turned pro, I still had a lot of horse. I know that this is a long stretch, but I knew I could hold off a strong challenge. Unfortunately, I had a very strong challenge by Unbridled Song, but my horse gave me everything that he had, and he ran all the way down to the wire. I couldn't ask for him to do anything more than that.
Tell me, of all the Lucas 2-year-olds, Hennessy had been your favorite all along, and you got a chance to ride him today thanks to Gary's move to go to Honor and Glory. It worked out well for you.
Well, I feel like I was blessed. It's an opportunity that you just don't get every day. Obviously, just once a year to ride the Breeders' Cup as it is, but I did like Hennessy over the other 2 colts, and I was blessed to have the opportunity to ride him today.
Well, sometimes folks in racing, owners are not happy with riders after a given race. Not so in this case. Bob Lewis thrilled with the effort that Donna Barton gave him today on Hennessy. Good job.
Thrilled.
Okay. Really. Back to you, Tom.
It was a fine effort, Bob. Hennessy finishing second to Unbridled Song. It returns 1240, 810, 670. Hennessy 850, 670. Editor's note 790. The exacta 108.50. The trifecta $1,100. $6 with Hennessy running second. Lucas will be shut out this Breeders' Cup day. Only the 5th time in 12 Breeders' Cups that has happened. Unbridled Song giving Mike Smith his 6th Breeders' Cup win overall. Hennessy, editor's note, as Lucas runs 2-3. Then Honor and Glory, and as you see the rest of the finish, all the way down to Appealing Skier, who loses for the first time, and Blushing Jim 13th. Now Mike Battaglia for the trophy presentation.
Thanks, Tom. Owner Ernie Paragallo on my left with trainer Jim Ryerson making the presentation. Tom Garove, the zone manager of the Buick Motor Division, and Mario Daddario. Tom?
Ernie, on behalf of Buick Motor Division and the nearly 3,000 Buick dealers across the nation, we'd like to congratulate you, and I'd like to present you with the Breeders' Cup trophy. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Ernie, we all heard the story about this horse being sold to Japanese interest. They found a flake in his knee or his ankle. I bet you're glad they found that flake.
I'm very glad they found that flake. We were very happy that they sent him back to us after the sale. I was a little reluctant to put him in the sale in the first place. So when we took him back, we told them at that time we were going to win the Breeders' Cup with him and the Triple Crown.
You're right on part of it. And, Jim, you did a heck of a job getting this horse ready. He must have been a bit short in the Champagne. He came out, set those torrid fractions. Today he had a little trouble out of the gate. Do you think that might have really helped his chances?
Well, I think he was real sharp for the Champagne, and that might have hurt him, as you said. And he isn't always good out of the gate. And with the big field today, that got him shuffled back a little bit. And as you said, that might have helped him. I thought overcoming the traffic that he had today, he put himself in a different position he had ever been in. He really handled it good.
It was a huge race. Congratulations, guys. Back to you, Tom.
All right, Mike. And coming up next will be the $2 million Breeders' Cup Turf. Morning line odds. Carnegie and Tamure an entry at 8-1. Awad. American Choice at 3-1. 5-2 on Freedom Cry from Europe. That's the morning line favorite. Flitch and Alice Springs at 20. Hernando 4-1. Turk Passer, Celtic Arms, Northern Spur, and Signal Tap all double digits on the morning line for the Breeders' Cup Turf. Well, it's been a big day for Mike Smith. 2 wins already this afternoon as we approach the turf. But now for an update on what else is going on this day in sports, let's go to Greg Gumbel in our update studio. Some of the horses have run as fast as the Concorde today as we see it heading to Europe from New York's JFK. And the MetLife blimp Snoopy 1 doesn't move quite that fast. Normally about 35 miles an hour for Snoopy 1, teaming up with NBC today to give you the aerial view pictures of the Breeders' Cup from Belmont Park. Well, believe it or not, the sun is out at Belmont Park. Still mostly cloudy, but the sun peeking through at least for a moment. And here is an update of the odds situation for the Breeders' Cup Turf. The entry of Carnegie and Tamure at 4-1. Awad is 7-1. Talwar 33. Freedom Cry 6-1. Flitch at 14. Alice Springs 31. Lando is 21. Hernando a 5-1 shot. Turk Passer 14. Celtic Arms 16. Northern Spur the favorite at 3-1. And Signal Tap 19-1. Well, one of the chief U.S. hopes in this race will be the Rye Hill Farms Awad. There he is in the paddock. An odd name, and there's a story behind the name at Jim Ryan's Rye Hill Farm in Maryland. He had a house guest, and they went down to see some foaling, and a foal was born dead. And a couple of hours later, another foal was born who was strong and lived. And so they gave him the name Awad, which roughly means the next one will be stronger. And Awad has indeed been stronger. And Jim Ryan donates a portion of the horse's earnings to a foundation that operates backstretch drug and alcohol rehab programs. Let's go to Trevor Denman, who is down in the paddock. Trevor?
Well, a really good-looking field out here, nice and relaxed-looking field. If I had to pick two out of them, probably the John Gosden trained Tamur, the 1A, looks very, very nice and relaxed out there. And then we have Northern Spur from Ron McAnally's barn. Let's deal, though, first of all, with Tamur, the 1A. Got a tremendous English record as well, racing over there. And again, a mile and a half today. You do not want them to be fractious early on. You want the rider Lanfranco de Torre, who's just having a magnificent season in England. Lanfranco de Torre will want to just drop him out, probably 5 to 10 lengths off the leaders early on, just allow him to relax. It's a really testing course out there. The mile and a half in this type of turf course is probably closer to a 1.75 miles, so they're really going to have to stay. Stamina is the name of the game in this next race. And then Northern Spur, he just looks really nice and relaxed too. He was cocking his ears back and forth just now when they took him out into the box, and as soon as trainer Ron McAnally got out there, you could see him tense up a little, and Northern Spur really looks on top of his game this afternoon. And Chris McCarron, who better to rate a horse here on the American turf than Chris McCarron? And no doubt these jockeys saw those earlier turf races as well, and they're going to know that it is a really tiring track out there. Here again is Tamur, and Tamur, if looks mean something out here, and obviously the big thing today is stamina on a very tiring racetrack, but looks-wise, I would say it's going to be a toss-up between Tamur, the 1A, and the 11 Northern Spur. Two great riders, both well-trained, and it's going to be a real interesting race to see who outstays who in our next one.
All right, Trevor, as you see, oddly enough, rain falling back in the paddock. We're out here in the front side of the racetrack. The sun is out. I don't know if you can see it on camera or not, but a strange occurrence. Northern Spur, the one Trevor was talking about, money showing, as they say, 12 to 1 on the morning line, but now at 7 to 2. Well, Mike Battaglia picked a winner for us the last time. Unbridled Song, as Bob Our Hennessy ran second. A pretty good battle, so each of you has one winner today.
Yeah, we got out in the head for the day on that last one, Tom, and we're still semi-alive in the pick 7.
So we'll buy Hammond's dinner tonight. Fair enough?
We could do that for him because we're winning.
All right. Part of the wonder of the Breeders' Cup, the variety of styles, not only in horses, but the races themselves.
Yeah.
The Sprint, 6 furlongs. This one, a marathon, 1.5 miles, soft turf. And again, Mike, very little early speed. At least the pace appears to be slow here.
I just don't see much early speed at all. We saw 3 weeks ago, we saw Turk Passer get out in front and steal a race. I think Northern Spur will keep Turk Passer from doing that. I think Northern Spur is more quality speed than Turk Passer. It's his second race on Lasix. He bled in the Arlington Million. He got Lasix last time out. Very, very impressive performance. That was his best race ever. He won the Grade 1 Oak Tree. He beat a horse called Sandpit, who would be one of the favorites in here, if not the favorite. I think that he has the ability to dictate the pace. Turk Passer may make the lead, but I think Chris McCarron will have Northern Spur lane right off of Turk Passer. Can get the lead whenever he wants. I agree with Trevor that you really have to have a stayer. This horse has proved he can stay the distance in Europe. I think Northern Spur is a solid horse here in the turf.
Do I got a stayer for you?
You got a stayer.
And he is bombs away on the board. His name is Lando, and he's a German bred. He's a solid long shot because he's only a length or two off Freedom Cry, who's out there at 7 to 2, and this horse is up there at 24 to 1. Talk about a stayer. This is a genuine 1.5 mile horse who's gone the soft route before. You know, he doesn't have the credentials as some of these other horses, but again, shopping around for a long shot, I land on Lando, and he'll be about 30 to 1 before it's all over.
He was walking backwards in that film. They got to go forward to win this race.
I'll be walking backwards if he doesn't get the job done here.
Okay. Back to you, Tom.
All right, guys, so Northern Spur gets Mike's vote, and Lando is Bob Newmeyer's pick. Recheck of the odds. The entry at 7 to 2. Awad now 7 to 1. Freedom Cry 9 to 2. Third choice in the wagering. The favorite continues to be Northern Spur at 7 to 2. Hernando getting some support at 5 to 1. So a wide open race as we expected, and the Rainbow has made a reappearance here at Belmont Park. Back in the paddock, Chris McCarron on Northern Spur as they make their way around the walking ring. John Veach, what about training a horse a mile and a half? It's a special talent.
Well, it's not so much a special talent. You've got to have a horse that wants to go a mile and a half. You can take him out there and try it 100 times, and unless he wants to go that far, either by pedigree or by inclination, he's not going to do it. It's like eating broccoli. They can make you eat a ton of it, but if you don't like it, you're not going to like it.
Well, we like traditions here at the Breeders' Cup, and we have one of our visitors from across the pond.
I'm so disappointed that John McGittrick of Channel 4 in London did not wear his purple outfit for today's Breeders' Cup. Must be at the dry cleaners back in London.
Well, I'm all prepared for the rain in New York, you see. That's the problem.
All right. We always ask you about your analysis of this race. You've been right on the money so many years. You don't like to be called an analyst, I know. What'd you say?
Well, I like the betting. Actually, the market moves, and you can see on the Mutual how they're going here. 7-2 each of 2 they're betting now. Carnegie, a very good chance. Carnegie won the Arc last year, and 2 horses well beaten in the Arc have won this in the Wings and Mr. Legend 1991. Tamur, I don't fancy. Watch it in the parade, Tamur. Sweated up very badly at Newmarket. Freedom Cry reckon the best of the Europeans, but remember, 9 horses placed 1, 2, 3 in the Arc have come on and run here. All have been beaten. They're bottomed in Paris.
Well, who do you like then?
Race. I go for Carnegie. I think your Lando, the ground's against it. Lando, it needs fast ground. Right. Also with Hernando, needs fast ground.
All right, after this one, you've got Halling coming up against Cigar. What do you think of there?
I would lay Cigar. Don't back Cigar. 3 to 5 on, 6 to 1 Halling. It's extraordinary. Don't, if anybody gave you $5,000 and they say if Cigar loses, you keep it. $3,000 if it wins, you'll be pleased to have it. I've got a Cigar here. I reckon it will not be lit up, Cigar. It'll be stubbed out and broken. They're going to break Cigar. Don't you dare back Cigar and listen to
all right, that's enough. He's either going to smoke it or eat it.
Not immortal, Cigar.
John McGittrick from Channel 4 in London.
Put that man under detention. The horses are on the track for the Breeders' Cup Turf, and number 1 is Carnegie. We call him Mutton Chops. That's who John liked. Carnegie, half of the Sheikh Mohammed-owned entry. Andre Fabre trains the colt. He did win the '94 Arc. He was 6th, though, in the Arc this year and making his first U.S. effort today. The other half of the entry, Tamure. John Gosden trains this horse. He trained in California, you remember, for several years before returning to his native England. The Cambridge man had this 3-year-old only a length behind Lamtara in the Derby. Number 2 is Awad. We told you how he got his name from Jim Ryan's Rye Hill Farm. Awad has earned $1.8 million. He won the Arlington Million with a big closing kick. He was much closer than usual and a dull 7th in the Turf Classic 3 weeks ago. Number 3 is Talwar, named for a town in Normandy, France. One of the owners, D. Hubbard, is the board chairman at Hollywood Park. There's Talwar, who was 4th in the Rothmans International off a 2-month layoff. Number 4 is Freedom Cry. 2 of the best in France, trainer Fabre and jockey Peslier, teaming up here with the colt. That was 2nd in the Arc, a mile and a half on soft going, just like today. Number 5, Flitz, trained by Bill Badgett, who conditioned Go for Wand here that ill-fated day in 1990. Best race of this horse's career, the Lawrence Realization, a mile and a half on soft Belmont turf. Number 6, Alice Springs, leading steeplechase trainer Jonathan Shepard, tightens the girth on this mare, who was 5th in the Breeders' Cup Mile last year. Number 7 is Lando, the first German-bred and based entrant in Breeders' Cup history. He's racing in his 4th country this year. He was 4th in the Arc and has 6 wins at a mile and a half on the grass. 8 is Hernando, owned by Greek shipping legend Stavros Riarkos, hoping the 3rd time is the charm. His 3rd Breeders' Cup start. He was 10th in '93, 6th in '94, both in the turf. Was 2nd here on soft turf in the Turf's Classic. First time Lasix today. Turk Passer, trained by former World War II infantryman Scotty Schulhofer, who has 2 Breeders' Cup wins. This horse went to the front and stole the Turf Classic on soft going. 10 horses, Celtic Arms galloping off. Rodney Rash grew up on the family dairy farm in Maryland, but now trains in California. Says Celtic Arms likes the soft going. Won the '94 French Derby, but is 0 for 5 in the U.S. Number 11, Northern Spur. Ron McAnally bought this horse for Oaklawn Park owner Charles Sella after a 2nd at Carnegie. Bled in the Arlington Million, as we noted earlier, then treated with Lasix, won the Oak Tree Invitational. And the 12 is Signal Tap. Post position 13, but not too troublesome since he is a closer. Rarely in stake competition, he was 3rd in the Man of War. That is your field for the Breeders' Cup Turf. We'll have this $2 million race when we return to New York. Recheck of the odds for the Breeders' Cup Turf. The entry 7-2, lukewarm favorite. Awad at 7, Freedom Cry 4-1. Lando at 23, Hernando 5, and Northern Spur at 4-1. The Widener turf course at Belmont, just over 1 mile and 5/16 in circumference. So this race starts just up the stretch from the wire. They'll go around 2 turns to the finish. They ran the mile 11 seconds slower than the course record, just to show you how soft the turf course is. Beginning to load into the gate. Breeders' Cup Turf Stakes record held by Frey's Sky Classic, the Belmont Park course record 1.5 miles. Greg McCarron, how soft is it?
Tom, I've never seen it quite this soft. Friends, from the mile rate, there's even some standing water. This is just about as soft as I've ever seen. Tom?
All right, as soft as he has seen it. Time for the call. Let's go upstairs. Tom Durkin for the $2 million Breeders' Cup Turf.
International showdown here. America's Best, Awad, and Northern Spur against a host of European challengers. In the gate for the $2 million turf. Talwa acting up just a bit. Settled down now. And they're off in the turf. No one really anxious for the lead, though. John Velasquez wanting to get there with Turk Passer. Turk Passer hustled out. Northern Spur is there on the outside. And Lando's up close to the pace today. They move under the line for the first time, and Turk Passer has now established the lead. Lando wrangled back. On the outside, Northern Spur will allow a free ride for Turk Passer in the early going. Then it's Carnegie tucked away in a cozy spot at the rail. Freedom Cry up close to the pace in 5th. Hernando drafting in behind horses immediately in 6th position. Signal Tap in the clear and on the outside. Flitch is now running in 8th position, followed by Tamori close to the pace in 9th. And Alice Springs down toward the inside, followed by Talwa. Celtic Arms second to last, and stretch running Awad is allowed to lope along at the back of the pack. The field creeping along over this boggy going here at Belmont today. And Turk Passer set a hokey opening quarter there in 25 seconds flat. Northern Spurs still restrained off him. No pressure yet for Turk Passer. And then it's Lando, well in hand, running in 3rd position. Freedom Cry, 4th, comfortable and in the clear on the outside. Carnegie still sitting in 5th position. Signal Tap now being nudged along by Jose Santos. Hernando still drafting in behind Freedom Cry. Then it's Talwa beginning to move up methodically on the outside. Alice Springs making a move while 4 wide down the backstretch. There's 6 furlongs to go. Tamuri's in behind horses. Flitch is buried deep in the pack. Celtic Arms, Awad still has a lot to do. 5 furlongs to do it. He's 12 lengths off Turk Passer, who is still unchallenged on the lead. He ran 3/4 in 1:19 flat. And the field now entering the far turn. It's still Turk Passer who's trying to steal it all the way on the lead. John Velasquez wanting a bit more of him at the half-mile pole. Northern Spurs still glued to him. Second on the outside. Germany's Lando coming under a ride now. Alice Springs moves into contention on the outside. Freedom Cries had a perfect trip so far. And Flitch is flying. He's 5th now on the far outside. And then it's Carnegie. And then farther back, it's Talwa. Hernando's down toward the inside as the field nears the top of the stretch. Turk Passer surrenders to Northern Spur, who turns for home with the lead, and Francis Freedom Cry to the attack. Then Carnegie running 3rd. Flitch on the far outside is 4th. Tamori is 5th. Coming down to the final furlong. Northern Spur put to the whip. On the outside, Freedom Cry drawing in closer with the furlong to go. A test of stamina here down to the line. Northern Spur fully extended by Freedom Cry. These two in a test of will to the wire. Northern Spur, yes, he's won it for America. Northern Spur the winner by a neck. Francis Freedom Cry was 2nd best, and Carnegie was 3rd. Northern Spur just sitting off Turk Passer throughout. There were no excuses for Freedom Cry, who had a clear shot at him. It was a test of will to the wire, and Northern Spur had a heart as big as Belmont Park today.
Did he ever? What a finish. Northern Spur outgaming Freedom Cry after going 1.5 miles in the swamp-like conditions. They were really going slowly, but when it came down for that stretch-long battle, Northern Spur and Freedom Cry, and Chris McCarron got all this Sadler's Wells colt had. Irish bred by Swettenham Stud and Partners, owned by Oaklawn Park owner Charles Sella, trained by Ron McAnally, and Chris McCarron is with his brother Greg.
Chris, here we go. Boy, yesterday morning you told me that you knew this horse loved the soft, and that the fact that he went 1 mile 7/8 over in France, you just loved his chances.
Well, when the forecast was for a lot of rain, that didn't dampen my confidence any in him, because he's had some very strong races on the soft. So I think we're both blowing pretty hard here. He had to work to get over the ground. It's quite deep, but he handled it beautifully. He broke good and relaxed all the way, and he was the best horse today.
And how about in the stretch? Did you have trouble holding that one horse off?
He kind of, when I left the other horse at the head of the lane, this colt kind of pricked his ears a little bit and started waiting. And when the horse that finished second, whoever it was, got to my saddle towel right here, this colt re-broke again, and he fought him off.
That's great. Congratulations. All right, Tom.
All right, Greg, you know, you could share that inside information with the rest of your partners here on the broadcast occasionally. Chris McCarron booting home Northern Spur to win the Breeders' Cup Turf. Northern Spur, who has raced both in Europe and most recently the United States, gives Ron McAnally his 4th Breeders' Cup win. Number 6 for Chris McCarron, paying $994.70, $380. Freedom Cry, $5.0350. Carnegie, $370. The Exacta, $52.50. The Trifecta, $172.50. And the Breeders' Cup Pick 7 tickets are getting down now to one final race, the Classic, as McCarron awaits his turn in the winner's circle. Let's go to Trevor Denman for another look at that furious stretch run.
What a furious stretch run it was, too, Tom. They couldn't have come any better than that one. 1.5 miles. And as we were saying before the race, it sheer came down to a matter of stamina. Here is Northern Spur on the lead in the blue cap and having dead aim on him. Freedom Cry in the white cap. The rider, Olivia Peslier, is going to pull out for an outside run at Chris McCarron here. But Chris McCarron is just a master on the turf. One little backhander there to get Northern Spur's mind on running. He must be able to hear that horse right up alongside of him right now. You can see the horse on the outside. Freedom Cry stretching his neck out. He's running as fast as he can. No need for the stick here. Chris McCarron decides I need a little more out of Northern Spur, and he goes to a left-handed whip here, and it really came down to a ding-dong battle. Could have gone either way, but once again, I think possibly the experience and just the sheer brilliance of Chris McCarron carries the day for Northern Spur and Ron McAnally.
And here is the official order of finish. Northern Spur first, Freedom Cry second, Carnegie, the show horse. His stablemate Tamure was 4th, Hernando 5th. Awad could manage only 6th today. Alice Springs, the 7th place finisher. Then Flitch, Turkpasser, Celtic Arms, Signal Tap, Lando from Germany, and Talwar bringing up the rear in the Breeders' Cup Turf. Chris McCarron posing for the 6th time in Breeders' Cup history. And boy, you remember when Greg was talking to him right after the race, he was out of breath. He put every ounce of energy he had to get every ounce of energy the horse had, and it paid off with a neck victory over Freedom Cry. I imagine John Veach running on that soggy turf really gets the horse's leg weary. It's a tribute to their gameness that they can finish the way this horse did.
Well, actually, McCarron here just carried this horse home the last 16th of a mile. That's why he was out of breath. He really did a magnificent job. Also, he stayed down on the rail where the going is probably the very best and forced the European horse to come on the outside of him, and the going might not be quite as good there. And certainly you could see by the way he was gasping for air when he was coming home that he'd put every ounce of his energy into it.
That's right. The inside, the rail on the turf course, is the one that's been protected by a rail they have since removed, unlike the dirt course. So the rail probably is the best going on this soft turf, and using it to good advantage was Northern Spur, who heads back to the stable for a well-deserved bath and a long drink of water. Here it is again. This is as good as you'll see. Northern Spur, the inside, Chris McCarron. Freedom Cry, the outside, Olivia Peslier from France. And you see, look at Chris McCarron. Look, as you said, carrying this horse. He is driving just as hard as he can, his whip in the left hand, not really hitting him with it, just showing it to the horse. Most of the action is in those arms and legs. Look at him pump the arms, his hands right up on the neck of the horse, as Northern Spur holds off Freedom Cry to win it by a neck at the wire. For the presentation, let's go to the winner's circle and Marianne Grabavoy.
Well, thank you, Tom. I think those Irish horses think it's the Irish bog out there today. And here to make the presentation is James Bassett, the president of Breeders' Cup Limited. He will make the presentation to Charles Sella, the president of Oaklawn Park, who happens to be your very best friend.
What an honor and a pleasure it is to present it to Charles Sella, my oldest and dearest friend. God bless you, Charles.
Uncle Ted, this is the greatest day and moment in my life. What a job you've done. And McAnally, who told me back in March this horse was going to win, he's worked for 25 years to get me a champion. He did it today. Chris McCarron, whose strength and energy fits this horse perfectly, and all my friends who have supported me in and out of racing. Thank you so much. Christmas has come early.
Mr. Sella, you started at Oaklawn Park mucking out stalls.
That is correct. Some 35 years ago. And here I am.
Well, congratulations to all of you. Chris McCarron, Ron McAnally, Tom Hammond, back up to you.
All right, Marianne, and now we go to the Classic. Coming up next, the $3 million Breeders' Cup Classic. Here's the morning line, unaccounted for at 6-1, so is Hauling from Europe. And as we see, the 3-5 morning line favorite is Cigar, looking for win number 12 in a row. And there is a look at Cigar in the paddock, actually named for an aviation checkpoint, but checkpoint or not, his name has had headline riders madly puffing away. Oh, to be so misunderstood. Take Cigar, for instance. Because of his breeding, everyone thought he'd be a turf horse. But he was so ordinary on turf.
With Cigar, the very consistent runner on the outside, in 5th position at this point.
Ah, but he showed him.
A quarter of a mile to go, and it's going to take something totally unforeseen to see Cigar get beat. Jerry Bailey just looked back. He should have a huge smile on his face because Cigar is striding through the stretch. Cigar is gone! Cigar opening up in mid-stretch. Cigar there by a length. Unaccounted for will make him work for it today. It's Cigar past the 16th hole. A length and a half lead. Unaccounted for. Second best to the sensational Cigar.
And Cigar looking to light up again today, but as we mentioned, his name really doesn't deal with smoking. It's an aviation checkpoint. His owner, Alan Paulson, is a pilot, names many of his horses after aviation checkpoints around the world. We'll be back. Belmont Park is the home of the likely choice for Horse of the Year, Cigar, owned by Alan Paulson and trained by Billy Mott. Cigar has not been beaten by a horse from the United States this year. So reinforcements have come from overseas. There is a challenge, and it comes from Europe by way of Dubai. It comes from Sheikh Mohammed, who with his brothers are a worldwide racing force. The horse is Hauling, winner of 8 straight races, 3 on the sand in Dubai, the rest on turf in Europe. But he is yet untested on Cigar's favorite surface, the dirt. Belmont is Cigar's home. He's won his last 2 races here. Belmont could just be the place where Cigar becomes a legend. And there is the horse of the hour, sporting that gaudy 11-race winning streak and looking to join racing's greats by winning number 12, the Breeders' Cup Classic today. And here are the way the odds are going as the wagering has begun. French Deputy at 14, unaccounted for, 9-2. Hauling from Europe not getting much respect, 7-1. Concern, last year's winner, is 13-1. Tinner's Way at 19. Peaks and Valleys, 3-year-old challenger, 12-1. And Cigar has actually gone up a little bit from the morning line. He is currently at even money with Jed Forrest, the long shot, at 75-1. John Veach, normally we see horses that are undistinguished on dirt switch to the turf and sometimes become world beaters. Lure in recent history comes to mind. This horse went the other way. He was not ordinary, a little better than that on grass, but certainly undistinguished. Moves to the dirt, and he's become a wildcat. What's the reason?
The reason is nobody knew that he belonged on the dirt to start with, and they tried him on the turf because of his pedigree, and they stuck with it a long time. But now they've made a decision long ago to run him on the dirt, and he's done 11 straight. The thing that we must watch for today, though, is he doesn't have his racetrack. He has done exceptionally well on the fast going, and to be a great one, he's got to be the type of horse that doesn't have to carry his own racetrack in his back pocket, but be able to run every place. And today, we'll find out if he can do that.
Well, Cigar's 11-race winning streak is extraordinary, perhaps even more so because so much else about this horse is not. As a 3- and 4-year-old, he was as ordinary as a nickel Cigar. But he had Belmont behind him, the trainer who put Cigar on dirt and gave him the chance to be a winner. And Alan Paulson, the millionaire owner, who was given Cigar as a gift from his wife.
Here comes Cigar uncorking his rally. Cigar explodes. Cigar opening up in mid-stretch. Cigar there by a length. It's Cigar past the 16th hole.
Cigar's perfection has given life to the dreams of these two men from the Midwest. For Alan Paulson, racetracks and winner's circles were a long way off from his hometown in Clinton, Iowa.
I was on my own 13, and my mother was in a sanitarium, and my mother and father was divorced, and my father had left and went to the West Coast, and I worked locally for a couple years in Clinton, Iowa, my hometown, in a family hotel where I used to mop the floors and clean the bathrooms and all that and go to school. And when I was 15, I had enough money to get on a Greyhound bus and went to Northern California and got a job on a farm up there and worked my way through high school. And after high school, I went to work for TWA Airline on a minimum 30 cents an hour as an apprentice mechanic.
From apprentice mechanic to pilot, designer, and by the time he was 56 years old, Alan Paulson created Gulfstream Aerospace Corporation, a company that sells planes like the G4, a product worth $25 million. He started investing in racehorses in 1983 and has already won 3 Breeders' Cups. But Cigar, this gift from his wife, could be his greatest victory so far. Like Alan Paulson, Bill Mott grew up in the Midwest, Mobridge, South Dakota, 2 hours from almost anything except horses and cattle.
I think the only thing I ever thought I might be is a cowboy of some sort. I never could imagine myself training racehorses at Belmont Park.
Jerry Bailey has ridden Cigar to every one of his victories this year. He cares more about Cigar's record than his own 4th Classic win. The trinity behind Cigar: quiet, humble, and pinning their hopes on a horse who has been anything but ordinary. Self-made all, Paulson, Mott, Bailey, and Cigar. We understand there's a problem with one of his shoes in the paddock. Trevor, can you tell us what the problem is?
All right, we're here right next to Cigar with trainer Bill Mott. Bill, is some kind of problem? We're trying to figure out what it is.
I don't see a problem at all.
Oh, we've heard there was some problem with the shoes. No?
I don't know of anything wrong. He's shod the same way he's been shod all year long.
Oh. So there's a difference of opinion. Are they making you do anything different with him, or is he just going to race like this? Oh. But these are the same shoes he always wears?
Exactly.
So in your opinion, he's ready to go to the gate and run right now?
As far as I know.
All right. Thanks a lot, Bill.
All right, so false alarm. Everything is okay with the star of the day. And there is an interesting sidebar here. This is Tinner's Way. He's the last-born son of the great Secretariat, and here he is today playing the spoiler's role against a horse mentioned by some in the same breath as the legendary Secretariat. We're back at Belmont Park before the Breeders' Cup Classic. You're looking at Cigar, winner of 11 in a row. In the paddock, being led, waiting for Jerry Bailey to be given a leg up, and Mike Battaglia is back in the paddock now. What about the confusion, Mike? We heard there was a problem. Belmont said not.
All right, Tom, I just talked to the paddock judge, and he said that according to what he heard, there is a problem with the shoes. He's talking to the stewards now. He didn't want to come on and talk about it until he went and discussed it with the stewards. They're in the process of doing that now. Bill Mott thought there was no problem. Jerry Bailey now is up on Cigar, so if there was a problem, I think it has been corrected.
All right, Mike, so we await further word. As you say, Jerry Bailey is aboard, and they look to be preparing to come to the racetrack. So apparently everything is all right with Cigar, at least for the moment. John Veach, what could possibly be the problem with the shoe? We heard Bill Mott say that same shoes he's worn all along. What could there be an objection to? I know on the grass course they wouldn't allow mud caulks or cleats of some kind, but I can't imagine what the problem would be here.
Well, there are basically two types of shoes that are not allowed to be used in New York. One are the very elongated toe grabs. Now, all regular shoes have toe grabs. They give a horse a little bit of traction, but they're just about 1/8 of an inch, or at the very most, and they're made out of a very heavy, hardened steel. The elongated toe grabs are a little bit longer than that, and they do some damage to the racetrack, so they're illegal. Also, turn-down heels have been something that they've also found have done damage to the racetrack, and they're also illegal. But that would be something that the paddock judge would call the stewards about.
All right, apparently everything is okay, and the horses are on the track. French deputy Neil Drysdale, who's trained 5 Breeders' Cup winners, sends out this lightly raced 3-year-old. Never been 1.25 miles, but ran a monster race in the 1-mile Jerome handicap here at Belmont. Number 2, Unaccounted For, one of Pat Day's best Breeders' Cup rides in the 90 Classic at Belmont when he took Unbridled a victory from the outside post. This, by the way, is the last horse to beat Cigar. Cigar's final race on grass over a year ago. Unaccounted For, second to Cigar 3 weeks ago in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. 3 is Hauling. Trainer Saeed bin Suror is a former policeman in Dubai who converted his garage to a stable to train. Now is one of the top trainers in England. Hauling has won 8 in a row, dropped 6 pounds from his last race, hasn't run since August, but gets Lasix today. Number 4 is Concern. Concern won last year's Classic from Meyerhoff and Small, but has been unable to duplicate that form since with only a pair of wins. In fact, Concern carries a 7-race losing streak into his first Belmont start. 5 is Star Standard. Nick Zito trained 3-year-old who is one of only a couple of speed horses in the race. Cigar's beaten him in each of his last 2 starts. 6 is Soul of the Matter. Burt Bacharach was happy to see raindrops falling on his head. Since this colt is 1 of 2 on an off track, he was 4th in last year's Classic, had a game win in the Goodwood his last start. 7 Tinner's Way, owned by Saudi Prince Khalid Abdullah's farm. Last son of Secretariat, has twice won Del Mar's Pacific Classic, just nailed at the wire by Soul of the Matter in the Goodwood. The 8 is La Carriere, owned by former Sports Illustrated feature writer Virginia Kraft Payson. Joined Star Standard as the other speed in the race. 4th to Peaks and Valleys in the Meadowlands Cup. He's won his only start at 1.25 miles. 9 is Peaks and Valleys, trained by former Canadian Olympic gold medal winning equestrian Jim Day. This 3-year-old colt has never been worse than 3rd in 11 lifetime starts. Stalker won the Meadowlands Cup his last race. This is his first effort at Belmont. And there you may have heard the cheers, is Cigar, very versatile, a late bloomer. Bill Mott took his charge off the grass. He's been a bear on the dirt, overcome all sorts of problems, even an ulcer. And he wasn't good enough for the Triple Crown races, so has been a virtual unknown to the general public. If he wins today, he'll set a 1-year earnings record, and everyone will know him. And the long shot in the field is 11, Jed Forrest, another Perez Panamanian import. He won 10 in Panama, but was up the track in his only U.S. start, the Jockey Club Gold Cup, behind Cigar. So the Classic, sponsored by Mobil, 5 millionaires in the field. We are about 5 minutes from post time. Well, Hauling comes from Godolphin, an interesting experiment. It is an experiment from another culture, from a part of the world that American racing fans are not familiar with. But horses have been running in the desert since the beginning of thoroughbreds. In fact, the breed itself descends from Arabian horses. The ruling Maktoum family of Dubai has used the name of one of the breed's founding sires for their experiment. Now Godolphin Racing is taking Europe by storm. The remarkable 3-year-old Lam Tara won Europe's Derby. But at the Breeders' Cup, it will be Halling to challenge Cigar in the Classic. He's won 8 in a row on the sands of Dubai and the grass courses of Europe. Godolphin's training methods are becoming more fruitful.
It was initially set up really to cater for horses that would benefit from a winter preparation in a warm climate and with top-class facilities in order to be able to compete in the sort of major international races during March, April and May.
It's been a successful team approach to training.
A lot of time in Europe is spent on looking at lots of horses who aren't ever going to make it. They've targeted down with all the finances behind them, which are limitless. They've actually produced the top people from all over the world to try and improve the conditioning of the racehorse.
So now Halling has come to New York to race America's best in Cigar. 2 horses with winning streaks on the line. The Godolphin team thinks Halling is ready.
You can put him anywhere in the race that you like. He's the champion in Dubai on sand. We believe and we're confident that he'll handle the surface here at Belmont. And he is the very best that Europe has to offer.
The Classic, another test for racing's newest superpower, Godolphin. And there is a look at Halling trying to unseat Cigar in the Classic when we come back.
25 years.
Check the odds now. French Deputy 14-1, unaccounted for is 5-1. Halling held at 8-1. The favorite, of course, continues to be Cigar at 4-5. Let's go to our handicappers. Guys, this one should be easy.
They all should be easy if you look at them the right way, but no, you're right. This one should be easy. Cigar's won 11 in a row, looking to make it 12. I can't pick against him. I mean, if he runs his race, he wins. I think if he gets beat, it could be by unaccounted for because of the off track.
Yeah, there are a couple of questions here. How about Halling? How good is he? But Cigar, if he handles the track, should be the winner. By the way, about that shoe controversy, one of the paddock judges interpreted one of his shoes as being a turn down or a cleat. That is illegal here at Belmont. Actually, he's wearing the same shoes he's been wearing all year long. They do allow a certain amount of bend, Mike, in that cleat, and his shoe is well within guidelines here, so he is A-OK.
Much ado about nothing.
You got it, baby. Let's go back to Tom.
All right, the start, 1.25 miles at Belmont, a little tricky. It's on the turn itself, and Cigar is in the 10-hole. We'll watch the start as Tom Durkin has the Classic call.
Cigar in quest of the perfect season. He has won 11 in a row and is now entering the starting gate with 10 of the best the world can offer, trying to beat him. One more behind the gate. That is ultra long shot Jed Forrest, as the tote board reads 99-1 on him. It reads 3-5 for would-be champion Cigar. In the gate for the 12th Breeders' Cup Classic. And they're off. French Deputy Star Standard strikes out for the lead immediately, and he is aggressively ridden here. Star Standard to the lead, and Cigar is keyed up today. Very competitive, and he's right up there close for the inside Le Carrière. They make the bend toward the backstretch. Star Standard leads. Le Carrière pressing on the inside. Jerry Bailey with a hard hold of the pent-up power of Cigar, restrained in third. Peaks and Valleys in the clear on the outside, fourth. Unaccounted for is fifth. French Deputy from off the pace today. England's Halling is now seventh on the outside. Tinner's Way is next. Then it's Solo the Matter, who's down on the fence about 9 lengths from the lead. Jed Forrest and Concern is just where he was last year at this time. Last, about a dozen lengths from the front. The opening quarter went in 24 1/5 seconds. Star Standard on the outside. Le Carrière pressing for the lead with 6 furlongs to go. And Cigar wants to go to the lead, but Jerry Bailey says no, not yet. Unaccounted for, fourth toward the rail with 5 furlongs to run. The opening half mile went in 48 1/5 seconds. Solo the Manor now has to pick it up, but he threads his way through in between horses. Then farther back, it's French Deputies, only 3.5 lengths from the lead. Then Peaks and Valleys, followed by Halling. A break of 3 to Jed Force, followed by Tinner's Way. Concern is still last. 3 furlongs to go. Cigar! Cigar makes his move, and he sweeps to the lead with a dramatic rush with 3 furlongs to go. And Jerry Bailey turns him loose, and he guides him down to the rail as the field turns for home. Unaccounted for down inside, a 1/4 mile between Cigar and a perfect season, coming down to the last furlong with a 2.5 length lead. And Jerry Bailey calls on Cigar for everything he has. The Carrier's awakening second. On the inside, unaccounted for. On the outside, Solo the Manor. And here he is, the incomparable, invincible, unbeatable Cigar. He has won it, and look at this time over this racetrack, 1:59 and 2. He beat the best the world could offer, and even Mother Nature too. There he is, Cigar.
We have been witness to racing greatness. Cigar, 12 in a row, an unbeaten season, and he did it in style. 1:59 and 2. Cigar galloping his way into racing greatness. It was an exploding Cigar when Jerry Bailey finally said, go. He blows by Star Standard and Le Carriere, the early pace setters. It was a monster move. We've talked about him being a push-button horse. He'll do whatever you want him to do at any point of a race. And when Jerry Bailey said, let's get after it, did he ever? Greg McCarron with Jerry Bailey.
Okay, I got Jerry Bailey with me. Jerry, all I can say, what must it be like to ride a horse like this?
He's the greatest, Greg, I'll tell you. I love this horse to death, and I'm just happy to be riding him.
This is wonderful. The racetrack didn't beat him. The paddock judge didn't beat him. This is just wonderful. He is the best horse I've seen run.
Well, me too. I mean, he overcomes everything they throw at him. The 10-hole, a wet track, waiting in the paddock, you name it, he beats it.
It looks like it all made him mad. Back to you, Tom.
All right, Greg McCarron, now over $5 million for Cigar, 4th all-time on the money list. Alan Paulson and Bill Mott's 3rd Breeders' Cup victory, number 5 for Bailey, 2nd of the afternoon, and they did it on a track certainly not its best in stakes record time, 1:59.58. Cigar inhaled the field to win 12 in a row. Think this isn't a pretty picture? You can put his place up there among the best that have raced. Jerry Bailey making sure, right hand, left hand with a whip, right about here. He looks and he knows he's got a dozen. In fact, Cigar eased up, or the time could have been faster. Like Bailey had already quit riding a couple of steps before the wire. Number 1 indeed. Billy Mott, not bothered by that mini controversy in the paddock. Alan Paulson knows it. And the self-made Cigar team, Mott, Paulson, Jerry Bailey, and the horse himself, Cigar. What an ovation from the crowd here at Belmont Park. 4 of the last 5 for Jerry Bailey. This is the one he'll remember. John Beach, you've seen a lot of good horses. Where does this one rank?
He ranks right there with the best, Tom. What he did at the half-mile pole here, when he exploded and opened up 3 lengths as if it was just turning on a light switch, that's a monster move, particularly on a racetrack like today that's gooey and a little bit on the holding side. Tremendous racehorse, tremendous year, and certainly one of the very best.
Payoffs, Cigar 340, 360, 290. Paid more to place than he did to win. There'll be a lot of people saving those $2 tickets on Cigar. Put a $2 wager in there and frame that ticket. La Carriere holding on gamely for second and unaccounted for. The last horse to beat Cigar held the show. Here's the complete order of finish. Soul of the Matter got the 4th spot, then Star Standard, the early pace setter. Peaks and Valleys never fired today. Tinner's Way, the son of Secretariat, could not spoil Cigar's run to greatness. Concern, last year's winner, 8th. French Deputy, 9th. Jed Forrest, 10th. And look at that. The 8-weight race winning streak of Hauling comes to a close on the dirt of Belmont Park. We'll be back with the presentation a little bit later, but one more look. As they say, one of the best to ever look through a bridle.
The 12th running of the Breeders' Cup is brought to you by Alberto VO5 for great hair. VO5 does so much. By the NASDAQ stock market, the stock market for the next 100 years. By Buick and your local dealers. Remember Buick, the new symbol for quality in America. And by Pringles. So fresh, once you pop, you can't stop.
Still basking in the glow of the tremendous run by Cigar to win 12 in a row. The MetLife blimp Snoopy 1 cruising the skies above the Breeders' Cup action at Belmont Park in Elmont, New York, with its 70,000 cubic feet of helium keeping it aloft. Let's go to Mike Battaglia.
Thanks, Tom. And with the jubilant connections here of Cigar, Mr. and Mrs. Paulson, trainer Bill Mott and Jerry Bailey, to make the presentation, Jim Mann, Vice President of Mobile Corporation. Jim?
Thank you very much. Mr. Paulson, your horse showed total quality today. That's what Mobile's all about. On behalf of our employees worldwide, our dealers, our distributors, most importantly, our customers, we're happy to present you with this trophy for the winner of the Breeders' Cup Classic. Congratulations.
Mr. Paulson, I think this horse can go down in history now as one of the all-time greats.
Boy, if he doesn't, something's wrong. And I want to thank Mobile, too, because they bought Gulfstreams from us, and that's a top product, too.
And trainer Bill Mott, Bill, we saw you as Cigar was coming across the winner's circle. I've seen you a lot. I don't think I've ever seen you that excited.
Well, I figured I had to root him on this one last time. It's the last one of the year and the big one, and I think this really etched it in stone what a champion he really is. I think this leaves no doubt.
Truly a champion, and I think that you have to agree that he has to go down in history as one of the best ever.
I think he surely does. I think they can tack his name right up there with the all-time greats, and I don't think we have to hedge on that at all. I think he's a real super horse.
How about next year? You think you're going to race him again next year? He still looks like he's got a lot of good races in him.
Well, Mr. Paulson and I will sit down and talk about that probably in November and December and weigh whether or not we want to race him again. And I think right now, if Cigar is healthy, sound, and looks like he could stand another campaign, I think we'd go for another year. And, of course, there's a $4 million race in Dubai that we'd have a good look at, and it might be a lot of fun.
How about you, Mr. Paulson? You think he can run next year?
Boy, the way he's running now, it looks like he'd run forever, but we'll sure check him out before the end of the year and see that he's good and sound, and if he is, we're going to go for it.
And we can't forget Jerry Bailey. What a magnificent ride. You've ridden a lot of great horses. Where does this one fit?
He's the greatest I've been around. He overcame a wet track, the 10 posts, overcame not having my good luck piece Justin here. He overcomes it all.
All right, the jubilant connections of Cigar, the winner of the Classic. Back to you, Tom.
No good luck charm or not, it didn't make any difference. It was something to see when Jerry Bailey asked Cigar to go, and he accelerated, and the race was over. Well, a lot of things going on in sports today. Let's go to our update studio. Greg Gumbel in New York. Greg, at Belmont, we had a special moment not long ago. All right, thank you, Greg. And John Beach, some final thoughts.
Tom, we've seen another name written in the pantheon of great ones. That name, Cigar.
Here's the way I sum up today. Let's go to Tom Durkin.
Holy smoke, Hammond. Well, at least we'll get away from some of those Cigar puns for a while, but let's not leave inside information out. She was absolutely colossal in victory today. Let's go to Bob.
Well, how presumptuous am I? I'm going to speak for racing fans and sports fans everywhere. Mr. Paulson, avoid the temptation of syndication. Bring back Cigar next year. The sport needs him.
I'd love to see it. If I was a smoking man like Tom Hammond, I'd be lighting one up too. Trevor?
Well, that shoe controversy, he could have run barefoot this afternoon. He would have still won.
Well, I don't want to smoke a cigar, so I'll go with that happy group from County Kildare, Ireland, the Coughlin's, who won the mile with Ridgewood Pearl. Lots of pints being consumed tonight.
All right, guys, and what better way to close the day than with a fine cigar, and he was indeed fine today. John, I think the only thing he hasn't done to rank him among the all-time greats of racing is carry weight, and no horses carry weight these days. Handicappers don't give them that much in handicap races, or the horses trainers refuse to run. So for my money anyway, he's satisfied every criteria for greatness in modern-day American thoroughbred racing. For all of us here at NBC, thanks for joining us for Breeders' Cup 12. Tom Hammond saying so long from Belmont Park. The 12th running of the Breeders' Cup at historic Belmont Park. The Juvenile Fillies surprisingly would not belong to D. Wayne Lucas. And the hopeful homecoming of Robbie Davis would not materialize either. The Sprint would belong to someone else, Desert Stormer. A hot air balloon, a 12-year-old girl, and a champion filly, linked by name and a cause. But Serena's song would not produce today in the Distaff. The outcome much brighter for Shug McGahee, 2 winners, Juvenile Fillies and Distaff. He watched as jockey Mike Smith choreographed a phenomenal run for Inside Information. Europe's Ridgewood Pearl would win the mile. And with Unbridled Songs winning the Juvenile, Wayne Lucas would be shut out today. And Chris McCarron rode Northern Spur to victory in the Turf. Then the gaze of Cigar, galloping to equine greatness with his 12th win in a row to take the $3 million Breeders' Cup Classic at Belmont Park.